Well, the road to the end of Season 3 here on AMX Global continues as we're here for race 29 out of 36. It's AMX 0 up first, and we've got a sports car double bill up for you all. Watching live on our relevant YouTube and Twitch stream. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be watching in the world, and a very warm welcome. But you hear a familiar voice in the commentary box. Once again, it's Alex and it's Reed with you once more. Reed, it's been a while, buddy. It's been a minute or two, but good to see you. How you been?
It's been good. We've been going full throttle here, and I know you have been too, so it's good to have you back while we can steal you away for your precious time. And of course, I always enjoy being here, and especially for days like today. We've got some great Southern American tracks. We've got some of the most popular cars out there with the GT4s to start things off. Yeah, really great day. A lot of racers joining us today. We got 25 to 30 racers in AMX 0 and almost that many in AMX 10 coming up, so it's going to be one of the best days of the year for sure, Alex.
Yeah, sports cars, one of my favourite classes in global motorsport. And you know what, Reed? I think I'll leave the housekeeping over to you before we get onto the track and the car combination that we've got for our budding racers, 26 on the grid so far in free practice. So over to you for the housekeeping.
Yeah, no sweat. If you guys are watching and you've been watching all season, this shouldn't come as any surprise to you. So just going to go ahead and get through the rotation. If this is your first time watching today, then you are in for a trip. We've been doing this for about 50 races so far, and we only have about 2 weeks and a day left in the season. So it's going to be a great day of races, and here's how we do it over here at AMX. It is a sim racing tournament, so that much is the same. However, we're mixing things up a little bit. So for the tournament, it's about 3 weeks or 3 months long, and we're going until December 17th. So that's coming up, just a few more weeks in the schedule. Fighting for $25,000 plus this season, and we do have a ton of races this year, so plenty of times for you to come out here and join us. The race format is by far the most unique part of the season. We've got 15-minute qualifier, 15-minute heat 1, and then a final 15-minute heat 2 with top 15 reverse grids in between, and that's what really gets some people. Just because you place really highly in the qualifier or in the heat doesn't mean you're going to come out on top once we switch the grid up. We do like to see your face, so please join via the video link. If you do see, if you do join via that link, then you get an extra $1 in AMX 0, and it is required to join via video link in AMX 10. So just click the link on our website or in the AMX Discord announcement section. That'll let you know where you need to go to turn on your camera and show us your smiling face. And of course, if you do win money, when you win money in AMX, we pay out every month $100 or more once you reach that threshold. So get out, come in here, and win. Race days Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, and we'll break that down for you in just a second. If you want to sign up, amxrace.com is the place. If you are in the Americas region, Eastern Standard Time goes on at 6:50 p.m., 8:20 p.m. for AMX 10, and on the weekends, we're doing it in the afternoon, starting at around noon at 11:50 a.m., and then an hour and a half later for AMX 10 at 1:20 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. And if you are of the European persuasion, then we are doing some late night racing on Thursdays. That's AMX 0 starting just after midnight, and AMX 10 starting at 2:20 a.m. in the morning. And on the weekends, it's a little bit more accessible. Evenings on Saturdays and Sundays starting at 5:50 p.m. and 7:20 p.m. for AMX 10 in Europe. And here's a look at what our drivers are fighting for here in AMX 0. We do have a prize pool of just about $100 coming your way, and here's how we give it to you. We're giving out prizes every single section. So the qualifying sector, the heat sector, and heat 2 as well. That's where you get your money, and we're paying out all the way to the 15th place. And even though the prize money does go down, it's still there for you. And so depending on where you place in each race, you're going to stack that up over the course of 3 sections today. Now, we're not just racing for money this season. We have also been graciously given a GT Lite Pro to give to the AMX 0 champion from our friends at Next Level Racing. Next Level's partnered with us for Season 3 to level up the championship by giving this GT Lite Pro as an extra prize to the AMX 0 champion. So big shout out to Next Level Racing. Of course, if you're looking for a sim racing cockpit, look no further. Next Level Racing's got a lot of opportunities, a lot of options to choose from. We do want to thank them for partnering with us for Season 3 to provide the AMX 0 champion with a GT Lite Pro. And here's a look at the AMX 0 Top 12. Starting off with Quarantine, Guinness, Jackson Hezenje, and Gerardo Ramos sitting up there in the top 3. And you can see all these guys have been out here. They've been racing quite a bit. And almost even as impressive as Kieran Harrison, who's only raced 11 times, but he's won 4 of those times. Of course, none more impressive than Quarantine Guinness, who's picked up 12 wins this season. So really, really cool to see such dominance. If you want to get your name up there in the top 12, amxrace.com is the place to do it. Sign up, join us, get your name on the leaderboard. It's the way it looks so far for AMX 0. And coming up next, we're going to be taking a look at the average placements, which is a look at what you might call a power ranking, right? So depending on where you place in each one of the heats, that gives you a different amount of prize money. We total that up, average it out per race, and this is the way things look Also, so for Quarantine Ganez, he is averaging $14 a race, and out of a total of $20+, this is pretty darn good. And he's raced 22 times. He's been very consistent over those 22 times. Guys like David Toth, we saw him first time just earlier this week. He comes out here and he puts up a 12:50. That is a very impressive one race showing. And he said he's going to be coming out and joining us for a few more races as well. Of course, David has achieved quite a bit out there in the sim racing world and a few other tournaments. And so glad to see him here in the AMX Global League to show us what he's got. And another one racer is Jamie Christensen, who also showed up once, got his name up there with a very high average winning total. So nice to see a lot of racers coming in, joining up. And even Guile Valero's come out here a couple times, and he's put up some great race performance in the top 6 there. Once again, amxrace.com if you want to get your name up here and do what David and Jamie have done this season. Some really impressive race performances out there. And of course, we'd love to see you guys join AMX Zero this season. Dan, if I'm not mistaken, that does it for housekeeping, which means it's time for me to turn things back over to Alex to introduce what and where we're racing. Some great tracks and cars coming up ahead of us, Alex.
Yes, indeed, Reed. We are in the state of Georgia, in the northeast part of the state in Hall County, at the famous Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Opened back in 1970, its nearly 4.1 kilometre long circuit will provide a big challenge. It's also the home of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship finale, the Petit Le Mans, which circulates around this track for a mammoth 10 hours. That's a hell of an endurance race and a way to round off the IMSA season. It's also hosted the Trans Am Series intermittently from 1972, the Pirelli World Challenge, the SCCA Runoffs, and the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And it's going to be a real test for all our drivers tonight. So, what are we driving? Well, of course, it is the production-based, iconic feeder series into the top tier of sports car racing, of course, GT4, and with a whole host of manufacturers, including Porsche, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Aston Martin, McLaren, and a whole host more. These will be the beasts that our drivers will be driving tonight, anywhere between 13 to 1400 kilos, a sequential 6-speed gearbox, rear-wheel drive, with anywhere between 350 to 500 brake horsepower at the driver's disposal. Of course, being road-based, there's a lot of spec parts that will carry over from the production cars to the race cars, but every time they are on the show here at AMX Global, they really, really do provide a fantastic spectacle, as myself and Reed will testify to that as we're getting to the end of free practice and about to head in to our 15-minute timed qualifying session. And of course, Reed, during the housekeeping stage of the broadcast, it said about the fact that we have a reverse top 15. So if you put it on pole, it's $7 in your pocket, but you have to fight your way back to get that elusive race win in both Heats 1 and Heats 2, as qualifying now will get underway.
We are about to start our qualifiers, and just by way of a tiny little bit of a spoiler, I was checking out the practice session, and to nobody's surprise, we did have Quarantine Ganez up there as our top qualifier in practice. Right underneath him, we had Gustavo Ariel. And actually, for one of the first times tonight, we do have quite a few of the best drivers who have ever really come out here and raced with us in AMX Zero. We have Victor Miranda, a guy who's got his pro license, that big black bar. And then we have a couple of world champion drivers. David Toth, the guy that I mentioned earlier, who you might have seen competing in other sim racing tournaments out there. And Gustavo Ariel, Mr. 10K iRating himself, joining us as well tonight to show us what they got. Really impressed to see so many great racers with us tonight, Alex.
Yeah, indeed. David Toth has been competing with the likes, Arnage Competition is the team that I would normally associate that driver with. So he's going to be one to watch as we see a wonderful amount of GT4 cars on this 2.54 mile, 4.088 kilometre circuit. 12 turns in all, and of course we have seen that long backstretch from turn 7 all the way down to turn 10A, which is the chicane just before they go over the over the crest and underneath that bridge, which we're actually heading into now. There we see in the bottom left-hand corner of our screens, Danilo Fernandez, as everyone's starting to gear up for a very, very significant push lap. Qualifying is going to be crucial here at Road Atlanta, especially when we get things underway with Heat 1, when they go through into Turn 1. Then it's a steep elevation change up the hill through Turns 2 and 3. You've got to be very careful through the left-hander at Turn 5, because you can run wide and potentially get a track cut, but wait for these drivers to make their way through there, as Fernandez making his way through down the hill through into what will be Turn 3, then head into Turn 4. So I'm going to be really interested to see who is going to be on pole position. Of course, Gustavo Ariel and also Conor Tiguinez will be the two at the sharp end of the grid. I'm hoping for something special from Victor Miranda, of course, our AMX Beta Season 2 champion overall, and famously won a race in Spa-Francorchamps in a car that doesn't really get much use on the GT3 side of things, McLaren MP412C. But yeah, if you are watching, folks, don't forget to get involved with the live chat. We will be scrolling those messages at the bottom end of your screen, and don't forget to follow us on the relevant social media. We'll be providing where you can follow us, where you can find us a little bit later on in the broadcast. But yeah, this circuit, we've had it many a time here on AMX Global for Season 3 here, Reed. It does provide some great action.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. And not only is it one of the tracks that we've seen, I think, perhaps some of the most action on, tonight it's going to play host to, let me get the numbers up here real fast, about 26 racers plus, because you can actually join via, or during the qualifier. So we might not even stop there. This is going to be one of our biggest grids of the season in a pretty accessible car. You know, normally I might be a little bit worried about having big grids like this, especially with the reverse gridding that happens in between. But I feel like, you know, GT4 cars aren't like, you know, your Formula Vs. You know, they're a little bit more durable. They're not quite stock cars, but they are a little bit able to take a few bumps out there. So I'm hoping that all of our drivers can keep things pointed forward. But it actually might make qualifying a little bit more difficult than normal, given that you do have to sort of plan out and space your car out in between everybody else's, so you don't get a lot of dirty air, so you don't get impeded quite a bit. It can make qualifying a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner of your screens, purple will be the fastest lap in the session, green will be a personal best, and yellow will mean that the time is not approved. That will be also indicated in the sector times. We'll see on the middle bottom part of our screens as we are riding on board with Conor Tiguinez, who improves further still. 1 minute 25.125, 4 tenths ahead of Norbert Leitner, the Hungarian, in second. As Victor Miranda, I was waiting for something to happen, and at the same time, both he and Gustavo Ariel round out the top 4 positions, covered by 4.6 tenths of a second. Karen Gaspar, Finn, Jackson Osenje, the fabulous Fabio Zampolini, Gaston Colmavi, Facundo Rago, Danilo Fernandez round out the top 10, covered by, well, make that the top 11 as Fabrizio Belziti goes in with a 1 minute 25.505. But Guignez, no surprise at the moment, he's comfortably leading the AMX Zero standings here, Reed, and I'm waiting to see who's going to fire a warning shot across his front hood, so to speak.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're only 5 minutes through, so there's plenty of time to keep warming things up. And honestly, if I had to pick somebody to come out here and fire a nice warning shot out there, it's going to be perhaps one of our other pro license holders. Also, David Toth is not the fastest guy that I've ever seen in qualifying, even though he is absolutely amazing. It's when he gets into the car during the actual Heat 1, Heat 2 that he puts up some of his best performances. So there are some guys who really specialize in qualifiers, and then other people who are more about getting their race on during the individual heats. So, I don't know. I would say Gustavo Ariel, obviously you're expecting to see him up in the top 5 there. Leitner is not a racer that I've seen before, so on his first time with us here today, he's already put up one of the best times in the session. So, and here come the times filtering through. So it is a little bit early to be able to tell where people are really going to finish. Although it does really encourage me to see guys like Belziti, like Zamperlini, like Resenje. These are guys that have been part of AMX Zero for a very long time, even previous seasons. And so seeing them continuing to improve and perform here today really warms my soul, Alex.
Yeah. Look to set to have 27 cars in time qualifying. Rafael Casacorta, the latest to join the server, but as you can see, we've got quite a few of the drivers out on circuit at the moment. I count at least 20 of them as we are riding with, I think that's the number 12 of David Toth. So he's not yet set a lap time, well, one that's actually been registered, of course. Arnage competition, the 28-year-old based out of Hungary, so will be one to watch tonight. Of course, have to give a shout out to my good friends at Eau Rouge, based out of not too far outside of the home of Champions Karting Gang, one of the partners of Arnage competition. So we'll see how he improves, but having already now bumped himself up to P5, good effort there. Guinness again improves and is a 10th ahead of Ariel. Resenje, Zampolini, Toth rounds out the top 5, covered by less than 4/10. You've got to add Fabrizio Belziti to that mix and the number 26 Mercedes, who's literally not much behind. He's about 100th behind. So we have now got, at the minute, 24 out of the 27 drivers, Reed, that have registered a lap time here in qualifying with just 7 minutes on the timer to go.
That's right, and this is where we're really going to start to see some of those big times put up there. Also looking for Lionel. He's not one of our highest rated drivers, but he is a guy that I've seen some promise from previously. So nice to see him, and really a host of new or single race racers with us today. Carvalho, a guy that's never raced in AMX before, coming out here to show what he's got. And really that's the whole point of AMX Zero, right, Alex? Is it's open to everybody. It's free to enter, and that means that if you're out there, if you like sim racing, if you want to do it in an entertaining, competitive format, get out here. AMXrace.com is the place to do it. And so we're seeing a lot of these racers come out here and put up some pretty good times. A lot of green sectors there for Lettner as he looks to maybe reclaim a spot that he had early on in qualifying. But when you see yellow times out there for Quarantine Guinness, it's not because he's going slowly. It's just because he was really, really fast the first few times. So you'll see our racers start cycling through the pits, coming back out and trying to get their hot lap on. Just to let you know, purple is the fastest lap in session, and it's going to be rough to see very many of those, given that we already have almost a sub 125 up there from our top 3 racers already.
Yeah, that's going to be the case. I mean, the track temperature at the moment is just shy of 51 degrees Celsius. Air temperature just south of, well, slightly south of 22 degrees as we run on board with Otavio Lobato, the Brazilian, currently running out P9 in the running order here, with coming up to 5 minutes to go. So nearly 2/3 of the way through qualifying. Lobato crosses the line, stays 9th at the moment. David Toth has dropped to 7th. Leitner now up to 5th. Victor Miranda with his 8K iRacing goes P3 on a 1 minute 25.340. And there we have the number 23, Aston Martin of Pedro Mora, running in the old school Texaco style livery with the old school signs on it. So, well, it's not what you want to see on a hot lap. You don't want to see people in the way. Of course, we have now partnered with the recognised FIA ASN, the Korean Automobile Racing Association, KARA, which really does showcase how in depth we're getting here. You know, now to be with an affiliated ASN to the FIA, of course, this gives a lot more credibility. Pedro Mora, the 23-year-old from Brazil, running with the Texaco Racing by Tony Kanaan squad. Of course, Tony Kanaan, a multi-time IndyCar Series race winner, a multi-time Indy 500. Well, he's won the Indy 500 a couple of times, and he's also been an IndyCar Series champion, and he's a big proponent of sim racing. Does a lot of wheel time, also races in the Stock Car Pro Series, which is currently underway in Cascavel for the penultimate round of the season. So good luck, TK. Enjoy it out there. He's also running in a Texaco livery Toyota Camry. We have also featured Stock Car Pro Series, the Brazilian stock cars, on AMX Global as well. Never been around when they've been on on broadcast, but I've probably been quite busy with other things in terms of the workload that I have. But we're coming down to the final 3.5 minutes, and this is where it's going to be crucial. As soon as, if you put a good set of, new set of rubber on the car, you might be able to take advantage of the track evolution read, but one push too far and you invalidate a lap time quicker than you can say the word jump.
Oh yeah, no, totally. And there's still maybe time to make some mistakes out there before you really start to feel that. But we're coming into the final 5 minutes, and this is, it's not a long track, but it still takes about a minute and a half to get around it. So time is running out right as I say that. That is not where you want to see things being put into the wall, and spinning things back into the pit lane means that that's going to do it. Lobato will have to come back after some repairs.
Well, that was Corentin Guiñez I spotted on the outside of the number. That was going through the chicane at turn 10A and 10B. Now, we've seen plenty of sends as well. Of course, Road Atlanta is one of the newest tracks that have been put on the Rennsport platform, because ESLR1 Full Major in Sweden is currently underway. So we will be giving shout out to some drivers that we do know of, and we will see a few of their teammates a little bit later on for AMX 10. But Guiñez, I think, well, he's done more than enough. I mean, Ariel has put it in the pit lane. Miranda's in the pits. Resenje now up to 5th place. So good effort by the number 99 from Brazil. There's Murilo Leonel running in the Brazilian flag-coloured emblazoned Mercedes AMG GT4. Currently P12 at the minute. And the top 16, well, make that the top 17, rounded out by Washington Pereira, are covered by just over a second, with Mauricio Lozano, the Mexican, who's been a staple of AMX Zero for quite a few times over the past 28 races. So we've got 36 of them to go, both of AMX Zero and AMX 10, as Norbert Leitner puts the cat amongst the proverbial pigeons and goes P3 with a minute and a half to go.
Yeah, Norbert, where's this guy coming from? I mean, I'm a big fan of Austrian producers, and he is, that's his day job. And now he's coming out here putting on pole, or no, well, not nearly putting on pole, with just about 2/10 away from that number one spot. And this is Corentin Guiñez we're talking about. He is absolutely one of the best racers we've had. He's got more wins than I think anybody else in AMX Zero. So that is a big contest to make up there. David Toth coming in with a 125.9 or 125.29. Good enough for P4 here at the end of qualifiers. And as our final times come through, it is really going to be tough to break into that top 5.
Well, we've had a bit of a shocker here. Gustavo Ariel has put it 4 1,000ths quicker in the dying moments of qualifying for Heat 1 of AMX Zero, race 29 here at Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta. Guiñez second, Leitner third, Toth up to 4th, Miranda, Belziti, Resenje, Zampolini, Gaspar, and Lobato rounding out the top 10. Covered by less than half a second, as Ariel, I think, is going to call it quits in qualifying. I think everyone's going to be hitting into pit lane. But there you go. That's a surprise, because the man that's going to be gaining $7 for getting pole position, Gustavo Ariel, will start 15th. But here's your results. Gustavo Ariel takes pole position from Corentin Guiñez by 3 1,000ths of a second. Norbert Leitner in P3, David Toth from Arnage Competition up to 4th, Victor Miranda, Fabrizio Belziti, Jackson Resenje, the fabulous Fabio Zampolini rounds out the top 8. Caio Gaspar, Ottavio Lobato ran at the top 10. Look at the splits between them. Next to nothing, like thousands separating a couple of the drivers. Kulhavi, Lionel, Eliseo, Sandro Boas, Facundo Rago down in 15th. He'll start on pole position for Heat 1. Danilo Fernandez, not far away, half a tenth from getting onto that top 15 reverse grid pole position. Washington Carvalho, Mauricio Lozano rounds out the top 18. We are going to have, I can't believe I'm saying this, 29 drivers on the grid for Heat number 1. Reed, that adrenaline's definitely pumping through my veins right now.
And that's what I was saying earlier, Alex. It's going to be a race today with a capital R. 29 drivers, and that's what I'm talking about. You can join during qualifiers. We actually had so many racers come on in here. Almost 30 racers, 29 drivers for race 29. Sounds like a good number to me, Alex.
Yeah, so Facundo Arago starts on pole position. Sandro Boas rounds out row 1. Guilherme Eliseu, Murilo Lionel, row 2. Gaston Culhavi and Otavio Lobato, row 3. Gaio Gaspar, Fabio Zampolini, row 4. Jackson Resenje and Fabrizio Belziti round out the top 10. Victor Miranda and David Toth on row 6. Norbert Leitner, Corentin Guinness and Gustavo Ariel round out the top 15. Danilo Fernandez, Washington Pereira Cavalho, Mauricio Lozano, then we got Pedro Oliveira, Lucas Sigman, Pedro Mora, Mateus Cavalho, Diego Villarreal, Tiago Pereira, Rafa Oliveira, Tim State, representing the Stars and Stripes, Nico Godoy, Rafael Cazacota, and Miguel Silva, rounding out what is going to be a 29-strong grid, and we are going on a full formation lap of this iconic 2.54 mile circuit, opened back in September of 1970. This is where the drivers really have to get the tyres up to temp, as well as the brakes. They've got to have their weapons sharp going into turn 1 on the opening lap here, Reed.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be, I guess, the formation lap, getting ready to start things out. You might see a little bit of weaving, but what you're really going to get a feel for is, can they keep it in a straight line? And you really never know what you're going to get when you walk through the door into AMX 0. Alex, this could be a complete disaster. It could be one of the best races you've ever seen. And for, like I was saying earlier, for GT4 cars, these are, about as close to road cars as you're going to get. Obviously, they are, homologated, and they've come out here with different drivers, different manufacturers, a lot of tweaks, so they're not going to be exactly the same, but by far going to be one of the most exciting cars that we've seen race this season. And I can't wait to see 29 of our drivers show us how it's done as we near the halfway point, just getting a little bit of a parade around the track to warm things up, get ourselves ready for the first lap of our first heat of the day.
Yeah, don't forget, if you want to get the live timing, scan the QR code on the right-hand side of your screen if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch. The link is also in the chat as well. As 29 cars get ready and get set for battle. It looks like we might have a few less because not everyone made it onto the grid in time, but the Porsche pace car has pulled away into the distance, and once we get to the entrance to pit road, that will peel in, and we will see what will happen over 10 laps of the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta for heat number 1 of AMX Season 3 for AMX 0 Race 29, as Facundo Arago will lead the field. Now he's going to start bolting as they go over the crest down into turn 11, into turn 12. We wait for the red lights to come on, and the grid is somewhat decimated to what we saw early on. Some might have made it from the pit lane, as that was Boas going wide, as it's green, green, green. We're into turn 1 already, and Facundo Arago already has a 6/10 of a second advantage. It's a three-way battle behind the likes of Victor Miranda, who's going toe-to-toe with the number 15 of Lionel, and gets through rather neatly. A little bit of side-by-side action a little bit further back as Guinness is rounding out the top 15 at the moment, but there is a battle here. This is for 12th position. We go back up to Eliseu, who rounds out the top 2, being chased down by Gaston Culhavi. Jackson Resenje not too far behind, neither is Boas, neither is Miranda, as this could be the move that Culhavi needs. Up the inside, he goes through on Eliseu to take second place, whereas Facundo Arago has the way into the distance to the lead of about 1.4 seconds already.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic start there. Some struggles towards the back there. Tim State out, unfortunately. Got to shout my countrymen. But looking up towards the top, we're seeing a lot of incredible action. And actually, some big winners now. +9 for Gustavo Ariel, who had an absolute rocket of a start there. Very similar situation down there with Carvalho, a newcomer who's really put up a great performance there, has got himself up from below into the prize money already on lap number 1. And as we hop on board with Gaston Culhavi and Jackson Resenje up towards the top of the standings, this is where the action is going to be. Facundo Arago is way out there, so we might see some racing action with him in it later on. But for right now, we've got ourselves all lined up into our racing lines, and we're starting to see what happens when our drivers are forced to race each other instead of just starting off from that formation lap. So this is where the action gets started, and we're going to hop on board with Lionel and see. Okay, well, we were there for a second to see what the action looked back further down the pack. This is back up some big, heavy curves, and that's what I call an off-track, Alex.
Eliseo got it all wrong and has dropped from what was 4th position to 8th. So the likes of Miranda, Ariel, Boaz, Belziti get through. So Eliseo, who's running behind Jackson Asenji in the 99, who completes the top 3 and who's closing also on Gaston Colharvey. It just goes to show that one slight error here at Road Atlanta, and that's especially through turns 2 to 4 when you're going up the incline. When you hit T3, you're then going downwards, and of course you've got to be very, very careful coming out of turn 5, because there's a very, very close wall in terms of proximity. Now, here we've got the battle for what is P4, I believe. So Ariel and Miranda battling away. Of course, 2 drivers in the same stable, but in 2 completely different manufacturers. So Ariel now up into 5th place. And looking for what is going to be 4th very shortly as Jackson Asenche sets the... Oh, we did have an incident picture-in-picture. Now, that was Zampellini being turned around. He made it onto the grid, and there's going to be a secondary impact by one of the Texaco cars, and then that takes off one of the Porsches. Oh, that's a hard hit there for Fabio Zampellini. Loses the rear wing on the Aston Martin, and that puts him into the pit lane. But, yeah, that just goes to show on the very demanding nature of Road Atlanta. It's an old school classic circuit where there's minimal runoff, there's grass and there's walls, and you have to be very, very careful. As Ariel now gunning for Miranda, and this is going to be very, very close. Out of the final corner, they'll get, well, out of what will be a little bit further down the lap, that'll be out of turn 7, as you've got this long back stretch through 8, 9 and into turn 10A. And Ariel has got the slipstream here at the moment, closing in on Miranda for that P3.
A lot of action up top, and this is going to be a big move by Gustavo Ariel. We're watching the overtake down there as Leitner climbs up into 7th, but Ariel was going for it. He unfortunately couldn't make it happen. We've got more action happening down the field, but this mid-pack is so close, and we are going to see more overtakes happen as Lionel continues to climb. Lobato following him up the roster. Belziti finally gets that +5 he was looking for into the top 5. And we've got more action as Leitner keeps climbing. Ariel does make the move on Victor Miranda. Can he make it stick? There's so much happening up at the top of the roster, with Leitner almost making it up into that top 5 with a double overtake. Now we're seeing some bump drafting, question mark, down there from Victor Miranda and Gustavo Ariel. The Tony Kanaan teammates really letting each other know what's up.
Well, that was threading the eye of the needle by Gustavo Ariel on Victor Miranda through turn 5 of all places, and that's not an easy one to do here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. We see Corentin Guiñez currently rounding out the top 12. He's only made up a handful of places, having been pipped by Gustavo Ariel in qualifying by 3/1000ths of a second, but there are skirmishes up and down the order. Now this is the opportunity. Guiñez getting brave. It's 3 wide, and he's Piggy in the middle. He's going to get through on this, so that'll put him ahead of Resenche and Carvalho. So Guiñez now up 4 positions to P10. We're still getting towards the end of lap number 4, as Guiñez will now go after Sandros Villas-Boas. Oh, that's Rafa. Is that Rafa? Oh, that's Pedro Oliveira that's gone off the track there at turn 10A.
Yeah, it's one of the Oliveras. When they're right up against each other, you know, it can be hard to count the number of eyes there, but it was Pedro Oliveira going to be probably our lowest placing Pedro, as we do have a couple more up there in the roster. We're going to hop on board with Lobato up there. Okay, well, we're just watching the mid-back right now as they float by our screen. Eliseo, a guy that has been placed first, but after a bad start and further complications, finds himself down at 13th on a -10. Now we're on board with Corentin Guiñez, and this is a guy you know is trying to climb up the order, and he's only a couple tenths behind Sandro Villas-Boas. Let's see if he can make this overtake happen. Probably not here, but a couple corners coming up, you know he's going for it.
Yeah, Site 815 in chat has gone, why is Guinness in P10? Well, he didn't have a great one, to be honest with you. It doesn't go everyone's way here in AMX Zero, and Corin Guinness is finding that out pretty much firsthand. We're riding on board with a Porsche, so he's trying to go toe-to-toe with Sandro Villas-Boas. And this is going to be close. Will the Porsche have the legs on the McLaren? This is going to be a drag race. This is going to be down into turn 10A. Wow. Guinness got the side draft. Last few sections of tarmac, heading into the chicane. Guinness got the side draft that he needed. He got the slipstream off of Villas-Boas and made it work. So now it's quite funny how the fact that Guinness started 14th, he did not get pole position. So that is one thing that he might be thinking, I need to have that controlled, ruthless aggression to make my way past. But we are fast running out of laps, folks. We're about 30% of the way through lap 6 out of 10 as we go back to this battle. Oh, now, Gustavo Ariel is taking a page out of the playbook of Corentin Guinness, and he's closing in on Gaston Coulharvey. Coulharvey, who was in the top 3 for Beta Season 2 in terms of the overall standings, is now fighting Texaco Racing by TK's Gustavo Ariel closing in. And Facundo Rago has kept an even gap at the minute, but there you see, it's 3 Mercs in a row with the BMW in 4th, that's Victor Miranda, but yeah, Gustavo Ariel is now firing that warning shot.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Ariel, this is very akin to what he did during qualifiers. He lets you know he's coming for you at the beginning. You try your hardest to make it as difficult as you can, but in the end, he does prove to be inevitable. But like you said earlier, Alex, time's running out, right? He probably has a move here coming up on Gaston Coulharvey, but there is still an entire second to be made up here until he is fighting for that P1. And if you look at the lap times, he is going substantially faster than everyone ahead of him, but coming up behind him, you got a big laps coming through from Victor Miranda, who's about a 10th faster, and even further down the order, there are some really fast movers down there. So the action to watch is going to be for that pivot point in P15 for the reverse grid. We had Oliveira just barely climb up into it. Now he's battling Toth, who had a terrible start. It looks like will just barely not be able to finish in there, although he is absolutely chewing up that gap to P15. And as we hop back on board, obviously the battle everybody wants to watch is going to be Miranda, Coulharvey, Ariel for who will finish P2.
Yeah, so Ariel gets through on Coulharvey. That means he's got clean air. We've got the battle, well, we've got a clash between Eliseo and Fernandez. Oh, that was a punt and a half. Fernandez spun backwards and collects another Porsche in front of him. Oh, dearie, dearie me. That was the number 14, Pedro Oliveira. So Pedro Oliveira having a drama, not just once, but twice in this race. And what's even more astounding, folks, there's no surprise here, Gustavo Ariel fastest lap the race, quicker than in qualifying, 1:24.970, and has got that gap down to Facundo Rago to less than 8 tenths. Here we go, folks. The top 15 reverse grid has definitely showcased that one driver is hell-bent on getting that race win, and he's going to have to do it all again if it finishes like it does for Ariel taking the win, because Facundo Rago is now going to have kittens.
Wait, what?
It's basically saying that he's going to have squeaky bum time very, very shortly, as in he's going to be very, very worried.
I was going to say, did you just explain one thing with another thing that I don't understand also? I'll leave the dog whistling out there to you for tonight, Alex. For me, I'm just watching Victor Miranda do Victor Miranda things. And actually, it's getting even closer. What I was saying earlier, that we might not have enough time for Ariel to fight for that P1. I think I'm taking it back now, Alex. We got 4 tenths, 3 tenths. It's going down for real. Here up at the top, Victor Miranda fighting for 3rd, Ariel fighting for 1st. So much action as to close out the final laps of this race.
Yeah, well, he gained the best part of nearly 8 tenths of a second, as there's the move. That's Miranda on Coulharvey through turn 10A. And the number 20 from the Canaan Esports Brazil crew makes it through to P3, so he's already made some good moves. He's gone up from 11th to 3rd, but well, when Gustavo Ariel took over half a second out of Facundo Arago on lap number 8. We're on lap 9 now, so after this it will be the white flag out here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta for Heat 1 in the picture-in-picture. Got the battle for 11th as someone has just gone off. That was Jackson Descenje, I believe, in the number 99. So yeah, this is going to be close. Just wait now, because Ariel is gaining. That gap is about 0.2 of a second. This is going to be through turn 6 and then turn 7. A lot of adverse camber on turn 6, and now this is going to be the opportunity. Ariel's going to set him up. Just keep an eye on that closing speed. Gap now coming down, and when he gets to within, underneath the bridge there, this is where the speed comes in. So hold on to your hats, folks, because the roller coaster of Ariel versus Arago starts now. Yeah, Ariel's just setting him up, and he's going for it.
And here we go. Down
it.
around the inside, he does it. Yeah.
So yeah, that was textbook from Ariel. Just knew he had the straight line speed, had the draft, got the side draft, and bang, he was through. And it was very, very neatly done there by Facundo Arago, not to fight it too much, because he knew that Ariel was closing on him very, very quickly. As the white flag is out for lap 10 of 10 here in Heat 1.
Just want to point out that in the meantime, we've seen David Toth, who actually crashed out. He spun out earlier on, had a massively terrible start, and then now has gotten himself up into that the promised land, past P15. He was down in 17th, climbed to 16th, 15th, 14th, where he finds himself right now. And if he stays there, he's going to get a great reverse grid coming up. So there's action everywhere around the field. Now that the white flag is out, all you have to do is either hold on tight if you're down there at the bottom where you want to be, or if you are up in the top, you can really fight for some big places, and we're on board with one of those fighters. Fabrizio Belziti right next to Ledner. These guys are both going for that top 5, with Belziti being kind of the gatekeeper for now. It does seem like he can make it happen, but man, there's just so much that could change here on the final half a lap of this race, Alex.
Yeah, but now we concentrate on the man that put it on pole position by 3 1,000ths. Not only is he going to pick up the Heat 1 victory, but he's also going to get the fastest lap, which will be a total of $15 for Brazil's Gustavo Ariel, who comes out of turn 12 for the final time. It's 10 laps in the book, the checkered waves, and Ariel takes the win ahead of Facundo Arago, with Victor Miranda rounding out the top 3. Kulharvi, Belziti ran out the top 5. Great showing by Norbert Leitner in his AMX Zero debut to take P6. Lobato 7th. Lionel Corentin Guignez finishes 9th. That will put him P6 on the reverse top 15 for Heat 2. Sandro Villas-Boas, Washington Pereira Cavalho, Guilherme Olizeo, Pedro Moura, David Toth, and Rafa Oliveira round out the top 15. So the number 82 will be on the reverse top 15 pole position for Heat 2, as we see a few more drivers come across the line. Fabio Zampolini, unfortunately, finishing all the way down in 23rd after a big incident earlier on where he did have to go into the pits. Well, he did have to carry on, and unfortunately, no top 15, no points. But yeah, it just goes to show there, Reed, that that's the appetizer. We've got the main course coming along very shortly for Heat 2.
Yeah, Heat 2 is really going to be intense. Not only do we have that Toth reverse grid, which is going to put an incredibly strong racer in an incredibly strong position, we also have the potential for another AMX Zero Triple Crown. Corentin Guignez knocked number 1 out of the park a few weeks ago, and now Gustavo Ariel could absolutely make it happen. This guy is capable of climbing absolutely everywhere, and I'm impressed with what he's done. I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yep, so let's have a look at the results for Heat 1 for race 29 of AMX Zero here on AMX Global Season 3. Gustavo Ariel winning after 10 laps ahead of Facundo Arago from the Voracious Racing team. It was a Texaco Racing by TK top 1-3, courtesy of Brazil's Victor Miranda. Gaston Kulharvi, Fabrizio Belziti ran at the top 5, seeing the 2 Voracious Racing Team cars in the top 5 ahead of Leitner, Lobato, Lionel, Guiñez finishing 9th, ahead of Sandros Villas-Boas, Washington Pereira Cavalho, Guilherme Eliseu, Pedro Mora, David Toth, and Rafa Oliveira running at the top 15, the likes of Cavalho, Gaspar, Pedro Oliveira, and even Fabio Zampellini finishing way down the order, including Jackson Resenje, who I think actually DNF'd in that race. But this is going to be an interesting one. We've got Rafa Oliveira and David Toth on the front row for our next race, as we are waiting for everyone to grid up. They've got a certain amount of time to do so, but I think really we could see a very, very interesting dynamic in this second race here, Reed.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, as I'm starting to piece things together, I believe that David Toth started well, but got a penalty because the way that we start the race is a little bit different. So, and I still need to confirm this because I'm not sure of exactly the details. But so what happened is David Toth was supposed to start pretty well, but I believe he mistakenly thought that on green we were supposed to start. But I believe it's the leader that determines the exact start time, and so I think he overtook early and then got some penalty for that, and then was forced to try to make that up. I don't quote me on that. I'm just trying to build a picture out of something I didn't see based on the information I have.
Yeah, it is down to the leader to make sure that the start occurs in the correct way. Of course, that was due to an incident we had in a previous AMX Zero race, which then, there was discussion about it in the chat, which was completely understandable. The thing is that it should be a dual file rolling start formation. There should be a minimum speed. There are on other simulators, but it is down to the leader that determines what happens at the start. If anyone might remember the doubleheader we had at Hockenheim a few days ago, that's where we had an understanding from a lot of people, and we did have a drama with one of the drivers actually, and Nico Godoy already saying about no fixed setup. Well, Nico, that's why we've got the very best of the best with us here at AMX Global for Season 3. But I think it's about keeping it a tight formation. Of course, I did have a chat with one of my IRL colleagues that, it's if someone violates the start procedure, then that will be investigated. That's why we've now made this a bona fide FIA affiliated run league, thanks to our friends at Kara, the Korean FIA ASN. But it looks like it's going to be a pretty even start as they come through the chicane. Again, 10 laps on the board. So Rafa Oliveira and David Toth will be on the front row. Pedro Mora and Guilherme Eliseu, that'll be row 2. Washington Pereira and Sandro Boas will be lining up on row number 3, as Oliveira looks to have already gotten things going, as we have now got the green flag waving. There's Barney, the flag marshal, on the Motul acceleration zone as they go through into turn 1, side by side between a multitude of people.
Whoa, we've had a big dust up.
Oh, that has caused big chaos behind. Lionel going around, and we've even had more problems. Oh, dearie me, that is not great at all. Lucas Sigman, I think, also involved. So that has really upset the apple cart. That's put Corentin Guiñez into P4. So Rafa Oliveira leads the way. Big time. Yeah.
Side by side for the lead here. It's Toth going into first. Yeah,
that was neat and tidy from the Onage competition driver. Pedro Mora rounding out the top 3. And, well, no surprise here. Corentin Guiñez in 4th. Gustavo Ariel currently now up to P9, having got past Facundo Cavalho. But that was a mammoth monster problem at the start when everyone went harrying into turn 1. Oliveira closing it on Toth, down through turn 9 into turn 10A. As Guiñez gets past Mora, looks to send it up the inside of Oliveira, but David Toth leads the way. Oliveira, Guiñez, Mora, Eliseu, Boas, Miranda, Leitner and Ariel, as Guiñez sweeps to the outside at turn 12.
No
That's
way!
That's madness from Corentin Guiñez. He had the cojones to send it around the outside there. That was a That was a 3,000 IQ. Right, hold on. Let's go for a ride. And round the outside he went, and now he's going to chase after David Toth. That's one of the best overtakes this season.
Cannot believe he was able to execute on that P4, 3, 2. Quarantine Guinness is the truth. He is really getting it done here. And now as we watch Eliseo, we were on board with him for a second. He's about to climb into the top 5 or further into the top 5, even just behind this. So we really are going to have an absolute race on our hands here tonight. Alex and Quarantine Guinness might even be threatening David Toth for the lead here in a few laps.
Well, Toth has just put in the fastest lap of the race. He was probably the best one nearly half a second quicker, but in a 1:30.205. But Guinness is closing in. And that gap is really, really being decimated. It's less than 0.2 of a second because they're going down that very long back stretch here. And Guinness waiting. He's going to try and get the run. Oh, a little bit sideways from David Toth coming out of turn 10A. Now through into 12. So this is where Guinness will line things up. Hit the curbing, a little bit of bouncing from the rear end of the Porsche from David Toth as they head down into T1. It's a very short run down there. Guinness goes fastest lap of anybody, 1:25.129. And he's a 10th. Oh, don't try it through turn 2. Whoa. Oh, that was close. That was very close from Guinness. Through 3, down into 4. And Guinness, I think, will set him up for the run coming out of turn 7 next time around, unless he gets a good run out of T5, which they're going to go through now. And yeah, Toth managing to make it work, but Guinness pulling to the right-hand side ever so slightly, as we see a bit of a battle behind. There's Rafa Oliveira, who's got Victor Miranda to the outside, and there goes Gustavo Ariel. My goodness me, they are taking more risks to get these rewards of points, which equal US dollars.
Yeah, wow. Oh my God, this action is absolutely mental. We're watching Ariel fight Oliveira. We might have him on there. Toth and Guinness. Guinness gets him on the inside. Toth tries to fire back, but has to give up, fall back into the wake of what is a monster drive from Quarantine Guinness. This man is taking lunch money one at a time. I agree with Chad. He is absolutely on that supervillain energy. Can anyone stop this bad, bad man?
Yeah, that's going to be the crucial point today. It's just, I mean, the thing is, David Toth now is closing in on him. He's not letting Guinness get away. We've now got a superhero on our hands, chasing down the dominant force in AMX 0. This is the mayhem in the bottom right-hand corner of your screens that happened on lap 1. It was Lionel that got caught up, then gets... starts the chain reaction, the domino rally effect, as we've got a big old battle here, main screen for P3 with Miranda, Mora, Ariel, looking away. Miranda gets through, Ariel gets through, Mora's got lightness swarming all over the back of him, but you can just see that all the madness that happened really does go to show that lap 1 is where you can lose your opportunity to win points and get dollars on the board. Lightning now going side by side with Mora, and will get the nose ahead. Eliseo is closing and he's bump drafting on Mora. Make it 3-1 into turn 10A, please. Thank you very much. At least the BPMs will now go down a little bit, unless Leitner gets through on Mora, which he does so through turn 10B, and then through into turn 11. Good exchange there between Mora and Leitner there, Reed, as Eliseo trying to make amends for what happened in Heat 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Eliseo is also on a tear, but he's trying to reclaim spots, as he did start up in that top 5 and has been passed up by monsters like Toth, Miranda, Guinness also. You just cannot fight hard enough to be in that top 5. I don't know what you have to do, but it is just requiring superhuman efforts to make it up here. So now as we focus on what's right behind the top of the pack, we've got this excellent mid-pack battle coming through for, all the way from P5 down to P10, it feels like. And as we close in on the cusp battle down here at P15, this is where the action ends. The back of the pack is still just absolutely as competitive, even though we lost a bunch of our drivers, rest in peace, for It's still just as competitive as ever when it comes to the points, when it comes to the money. Oh, and a big spin back there in the back. It's Carvalho who will spin out, and Sandro de los Boas, we're watching him. Yeah, it was actually him that spun out into the wall.
Oh, yeah, he was side by side, and I think that, as you said, with Carvalho, and Carvalho turned Boas around, and the McLaren ended up with the wall. Fernandez and Gaspar going, well, that was Fernandez on, I think that was on that's on the 222 of Fernandez, and that is a change for what is now 10th position. So again, just the hits, they keep on coming here at Road Atlanta as we are fast getting our way. Well, we're past the halfway point, so we're on to lap 6 out of 10. Good to see our learned colleague Mr. Weihan Chan in the chat. Weihan, good to hear from you, buddy, and glad to see that you had a good time in Europe with our good friend Mr. Marco Barbanera, who will be back on broadcast tomorrow night for day 30. Give you the update on what we'll be racing at tomorrow night a little bit later on. But we concentrate on the battle between Pedro Mora and Guilherme Eliseu. They've got Facundo Arago not too far behind, so the Voracious Racing Team car, the Mercedes, the number 95, is trying to close in on them. It is not going to be the triple crown for Gustavo Ariel, because between Victor Miranda and David Toth, there is a sizable gap of about 4.7 seconds. But Guinness versus Toth, they are not separated by much at the moment, as we've still got the best part of 4 laps to go, as the two teammates are going side by side on the outside of Miranda's BMW, but thinks better of it, gets a little bit of a slight back. But they do say a little bit of rubbings racing, but the one big card in sim racing and IRL is do not take out your teammate. David Toth puts in the new fastest lap and is within 0.3 of a second of Corentin Guinness. As again, Ariel looking up the inside of Miranda through turn 1. There's no room right there for the Brazilian.
Yeah, this is so fun to watch. So many cool battles. Toth actually made it to within 1/10 of Corentin Guinness there, and you can see he's just sort of biding his time, waiting for the right moment. Not the same situation at all between Ariel and Miranda. These guys are teammates. They know how each other races, and they are trying to put each other in the wall. You know that is going to be an intense battle for the entire rest of the race. So lots to pay attention to. We got Facundo Arago also trying to make a big move. He's going to climb up a spot into 7th. We got moves. Oh, actually double overtake into 6th. Oh my God, Rago on a tear. David Toth also, we're watching him on board, and you can see him, he's pretty calm, cool, and collected right now. Like I said, biding his time there in the slipstream, waiting for the right moment to strike in the final 3 laps of a race.
Yeah, battle for third, picture-in-picture on your screens. Miranda blocking Ariel at the moment, down the back stretch, heading into turns 9 and turn 10. As Ariel again trying to go for it, but whilst they've been squabbling, look who's been closing in on them. The number 10 Mercedes of Norbert Leitner, who could get the final step on the rostrum as we head on to 3 laps to go. Another second successive fastest lap by David Toth, who's now closing through T1 on Corentin Guinness from Sim RC. Over the crest through turn 2. Slight touch on the brakes, dip it down through 3, and then into this turn 4 left-hander before you head through the famous complex here at the S. Is very bumpy, a lot of undulation, a lot of elevation changes. Through into turn 5, you're going to run it a little bit wide, but make sure you stay away from the wall on the right, as you're going to head down into T7, and Miranda's still leading the battle for P3. Through turn 6 go the leaders. That's a short shoot up to turn 7, and now this is where David Toth, who's in the same machinery, let's not forget the Porsche 718 Cayman GT4, could get a little bit more of a run on David Toth. But after this, it'll be 2 to go here in Heat 2 for race 29 of AMX 0, Reed.
Yeah, wow, it does not get much closer than this. Both of the races today, both heats have been absolute bangers, not to mention Gustavo Ariel pipping Guinness for pole position in qualifying. So much to talk about today, and there's just going to be even more as we watch up here. Just dropping out at the back of the field. Up at the top, though, this is where we're going to be watching for the rest of the race. We got Ariel coming up behind Miranda with Leitner nipping at their heels, and then here in the front is Corentin Guinness versus David Toth, and you know he is going for it here in the next lap. He's only got one more left. half a lap before the white flag comes out, and I really you got to know that Corentin Guinez is going to have to drive the defensive race of his life to manage to hold this guy off.
He's going to have to make the width of that rear end on that Porsche 718 Cayman to about twice the size of what it currently has in terms of dimensions. But again, the battle for third really heating up. Miranda, Ariel and Leitner, very much you can't separate those three at the moment for the final step on the virtual rostrum. As well, Ariel did on the back stretch at one point, going to the right-hand side to turn 6. And he gives Miranda a bit of a love tap from behind. He looks up the inside through a turn 7.
And he spins out.
Ariel's just dumped all that hard work in the trash very, very quickly, and that means he's done the Road Atlanta Joker lap, I'm afraid, on that one.
Man, that is going to hurt. He might be able to hold on for a P15, but wow, what a rough race. And the worst part about it is, it's like you said earlier, Alex, the cardinal rule of racing, you do not take out your teammate. Hard racing is one thing, but going a little bit too hard, well, that's what we got a chance to watch right there. Gustavo Ariel from contesting for the lead to P15.
Yep, from hero to zero with one move, making that transition happen. But Ron, the white flag lap 10 out of 10. Guinez still holding on to the race lead. David Toth showcasing some good pace and also good consistency in terms of lap times to stick with Corentin Guinez. So David Toth hopefully will try and close down as they're out of T5 for the final time. Into turn 6. This is going to be very, very close. It could come down to a run to the line, but it depends on how stern the defence from Corentin Guinez will be as they come out of turn 7, now through 8. And it's the long run down. You're going to see a replay picture-in-picture. So Miranda takes the inside line for turn 6, gets a tag from behind from Gustavo Ariel with Norbert Leitner waiting the wings. And then the moment here when Ariel sends it, goes off track, back end hits the grass, right rear spins the car around, and that's his race, done and dusted. Norbert Leitner avoids as we are coming to the end of Heat 2 for race 29 of AMX 0. It's 2 winners from 2 different races. It's Corentin Guinez that takes the win here in Heat 2 by 0.6 of a second ahead of David Toth. We wait to see who will be in third position. Well, there's going to be no surprise there. It's Victor Miranda with Norbert Leitner taking a P4 in what is an AMX 0 debut. Facundo Rago, Pedro Mora, Caio Gaspar, Danilo Fernandez, Guilherme Eliseu and Mauricio Lozano round out the top 10. Rafa Oliveira, who started on pole, finished 11th ahead of Washington Pereira Carrera, Gaston Kulhavi, Gustavo Ariel. That's not how you want your race to end, with a lot of damage. Things happening. I think probably he just slowed it down and decided, well, I'm going to return to garage. Then all of a sudden, bang, gets hit up the back end. Diego Villarreal, Murilo Lionel, Lucas Sigmund, Tiago Pereira. Your boy Tim Stake came home in 19th there, Reed, ahead of Fabio Zampolini. It's not been a good one for the 327 from Duck Hawk Racing as we wait for Miguel Silva in the 123 Red Bull liveried BMW M4. But how's about that? We definitely have had some surprises tonight here for AMX 0 Race 29.
I mean, we've really had a little bit of everything, all the way from that crazy, insane start, all the way to intense battles for the lead, all the way to Corentin Guinez on the sickest tear I have ever seen, climbing all the way up to P1 in just the first few laps, all the way to teammates taking each other out, completely unpredictable results, and in the end, I think we started with a potential 29 racers in race 29, and this is the way it finishes out. Obviously, you can see the bottom half of the roster is very different than the top half after our start, but when you look at the top half, you got to give a big shout out to the Impulse Racing driver Norbert Leitner, who comes home, the Hungarian, finished in P4. Facundo Rago had a really sick drive himself to get all the way up into the top 5, and of course the top 2, the battle between Corentin Guinez and David Toth, really just lit up the timing tower for the entire race. Such a pleasure to watch. Such great racing tonight, Alex.
Yeah, and there's still more to come for race 29 of AMX 10 in a little bit. But of course, there are the Heat 2 results. So 2 different winners. We've had Gustavo Ariel having a great run by picking up pole position and then taking the win in Heat 1. But Heat 2, it was Corentin Guiñez, the man who has been on a dominant tear. And we did say about supervillainy, well, maybe David Toth has become that new superhero alongside the likes of Gustavo Ariel that will challenge Guiñez over the remainder of AMX 0 Season 3 here on AMX Global, live and direct on YouTube and, of course, Twitch. And we have to say a few thank yous first of all. We have to say a big thank you to Next Level Racing, providing those stellar prizes for our AMX 0 and AMX 10 champions. Of course, Upbit, BenQ, and Automatics. And we have to say a big thank you for Cara for jumping on board as our FIA ASN. But Reed, that's just one half of the double bill, because folks, what have we got coming up next? We've got the GTE class, no longer part of the World Endurance Championship as of right now, but we're going to be going to the World Centre of Speed for what is going to be 2 iconic races at the Well, that is really effectively what's been 2 great GT4 races there, Reed. I don't know how that's going to alleviate things, or actually I think the adrenaline's going to step up another level for what we got coming up next. GTE's at the World Centre of Speed, Daytona International Speedway. We're going to be using the full road course. We're going to have some of the guys from Team Redline in with us. I can't wait, buddy.
It's going to be good. Can't wait to get into it, Alex. But for us to get into it, we got to take a quick break. And so everybody watching has time to go out, get some popcorn, snacks, and come back for what is going to be an absolute banger of AMX 10s coming up. So you do not want to miss it. So stick around. We'll be back in a few minutes with AMX 10, our final race of the night.
through the gateway to find new energy.
From Georgia on our minds, we head to the sunshine state of Florida for AMX 10 Race 29, and a very familiar track to all those sports cars fans out there, as this is the second half of our American sports car cavalcade, where we up the ante and we up the stakes in terms of not just the prizes, but also the prize money up on offer around this iconic circuit. So, you're back with myself, Alex, and Reed once again. Reed, GT4s at Road Atlanta just a few minutes ago were crazy. Now we go to a class that is no longer used in real world motorsport, but it's still a fan favourite here on iRacing, the GTE class.
Man, why do you have to remind me about that, Alex? GT4s were some of the favorite cars for a lot of people because much like Formula 4s, right? They allow you sort of that entry level into GT3 racing, which is one of the most popular types of racing out there. So it is sad to see them go, but glad to see that we still have it here. And it's one of the best parts about sim racing is that really you can race anything and anywhere ever. So I'm glad we got a chance to highlight them in our first race of the night.
Well, it's actually GTEs, the class that we're going to be going on now, that have actually left sports cars. But GT4s, don't worry, they're stronger. The grids are as bigger as ever. I think I was at the Grand Site 24 earlier on this year at Spa-Francorchamps, where they had at one point over 60 GT4 cars running around the Ardennes Forest, which was absolutely crazy. I saw it firsthand as well. I knew a few drivers that were running in that series too, and they said, yeah, going through 60 cars on the grid, you've got to hold on and brace yourself because you don't know what's going to happen. But of course, now we up the stakes. We go from AMX 0, Reed, to AMX 10. Tell everybody what happens now when it comes to prize pool and so much more.
Yeah, we're going to get into things here. There's a lot to talk about. Cars, tracks, drivers. We got a lot of the best drivers that you've ever seen ever, but especially in AMX 10. There's a lot to look forward to for our final race of the night. This is the pinnacle of competition in AMX Global League Season 3. It's called AMX 10 because it usually costs $10 to enter, but the prize pool is about 10x what it used to be. Actually, the prize pool for AMX 10 is 6 times the prize pool for AMX 0, which is free. So $10 prize pool makes a little bit of sense there. Let's go ahead and break things down as we get ready to go out on to Daytona racing for AMX 10 today. There is $25,000 on the line this season, which is just a lot. For 70 plus races, it's a lot of racing, and we're doing it until December 17th, so you still got time to get out there and join us. The race format is the real selling point, right? It's 15-minute qualifier, 15-minute heat 1, and then the final 15-minute heat 2 with a top 15 reverse grid in between. So even if you're good in one sector, you have to prove that you can do it all over again in Heat 1 and Heat 2 afterwards. Really competitive, and when you put the best racers in some really stressful situations, makes for a good race. For AMX 10, your video link is required. So click on the video link on amxrace.com or in the AMX Global Discord server by just searching for AMX Global Discord. That'll send you our way. We pay out balances over $100 every month, and it's really not that hard to do if you are racing in AMX 10, and a lot of our best racers are. So we just paid out all of our racers a few days ago, and we're going to do it again for the next month and the next month. So that's how we do it. And of course, we're racing on Wednesday, Saturday, Sundays at amxrace.com, where you can join us for any of the races that we have coming your way this season. If you are in the Americas time zone, we're starting things at 6:50 p.m. on Wednesday, 8:20 p.m. for this AMX 10 race. And on the weekends, like we are now, we're starting at 11:50 a.m. for AMX 0, 1:20 p.m. for AMX 10 on the weekend. And if you are in Europe, this is what our European time zones look like. We're starting around midnight for AMX 0 on Thursday. So it's basically Wednesday night. And then on the weekend, we're doing it at 5:50 in the afternoon or evening there for AMX 0 and AMX 10 on Saturday and Sunday. And this is a look at the prize pool for today and every AMX 10's race. $40 on the line for qualifier, Heat 1 and Heat 2. bonkers. I have yet to see a tournament out there that pays you for qualifying. It's on the line for every single section of our tournament. So qualifier, Heat 1, Heat 2, a lot of money to win there. Over $600 on the line for tonight's AMX 10 race, and a lot of our racers are going to be competing very, very hot and heavy for that prize. With the reverse grid, it makes it even more difficult to pull off the AMX Triple Crown, and yet we have had it completed earlier on this season. Who knows? Could be completed again tonight with winning qualifier, Heat 1, and Heat 2 as well. So some really, really amazing racers set to do some amazing things tonight, and this is what they're competing for. But it's not the only thing they're competing for. Thanks to our partners at Next Level Racing, they have provided an FGT Elite, over $1,200 value for our AMX 10 champion. So whether you want an upgrade or you're looking for any of your sim cockpit needs, this is a great cockpit for you. Also, big thanks to Next Level Racing for partnering with us for Season 3 to level up the prize pool for AMX 10 this season. Now, who is in contention for this prize, you might ask? Well, look no further than the AMX 10 Top 12. Up at the top of the field is Quarantine Ganez, followed by Gael Valero, Fabrizio Belziti, and Jackson Hasenje down there in fourth. Now, you do have some big names up there on your top 12 list. Not the least of which, down in 12th place, Gianni Vecchio, a guy that's raced with us 8 times so far this season, almost to that $500 mark, but has dropped a couple of places in the standings because he hasn't been out here and raced with us, and that means that, falling down the standings a little bit. Meanwhile, we got 23 races for Gael Valero, Fabrizio Belziti, way up there at the top. I think Fabio Zamperlini up there, 28 races. He's been out here a lot and has won $677. So you want to get your name on the list? AMXrace.com. It's the place to do it. Now that's total winnings. Coming up next, we've got kind of the power rankings, the average winnings based on placement per race. And up at the top is Enzo Benito, who had one race that was his golden race. He put up $95, which is darn near close to the absolute maximum point value you can absolutely get there. Chris Lullum's done it a lot of times. He's come out here and raced and has an average winnings of 78. Right below that is Ballas Tarocci. He only raced with us once, but again, put up a monster performance. Same thing for Connor Nixon. Same thing for Florian Lebigre, who came out and raced with us and is there in ninth with $60. You want your name on the list? AMXrace.com is the place to do it. And that's, I believe, almost all we have to talk about. But one last announcement. For limited time only, you too can join AMX 10 for free if you are one of the first 10 entrants for the AMX 10 race. You can head over to amxrace.com for your chance to sign up. If you're a little bit too slow, it does cost $10 to enter. But if you're one of the first 10 entries, then you too will be able to get free entry into a $600 prize pool race like the one coming up tonight. So really exciting setup. Hope you guys have been enjoying AMX Global League Season 3 this season. We've got a lot more fun races coming up until the end of the season, not the least of which is the one on your screen right now, which means it's time for me to turn things back over to Alex Goldschmidt to walk us through what and where we are racing in AMX 10 here today.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Reed. Of course, we are at the World Centre of Racing. The Daytona International Speedway opened back in February of 1959, spans just shy of 5.8 kilometres. It is the home of the Rolex 24 at Daytona, the Daytona 500, and the Coke Zero 400. Those latter two will be very much related to the NASCAR fans out there. Circuit located 50 miles north of Orlando in the coastal resort city. It's a coastal resort city is Daytona Beach. It's on the eastern edge of the Volusia County near the Atlantic coastline. We're going to be running on the road course. So you're going to have the International Horseshoe, the Dogleg, the Backstretch, and of course the famed Le Mans Chicane, named in a partnership between the circuit and the Automobile Club de l'Ouest, who run the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So there is there's a Daytona Chicane at Le Mans, and there's the Le Mans Chicane at Daytona. What cars are we running in? Of course, now sad to see these cars not racing in real life, but they're well and truly alive here on iRacing. Of course, manufacturers such as Ford with the GT40, the BMW with the M8, the 488 GT, and of course the Porsche 911, and whilst you're at it, throw in a Corvette or two. These are producing anywhere between 530 to 568 brake horsepower, rear-wheel drive, sequential gearbox, and they are trimmed down when it comes to weight saving. Anywhere between 1,200 and 1,245 kilos. And marques being represented tonight include Porsche, Ferrari, BMW, Corvette, and the GT40 makes a return. Maybe even the Ford GT that came back after 50 years of an absence for the Blue Oval, based out of Dearborn in Michigan. The Ford GT, which took the GTE class win overall in 2016, 50 years after Ford brought it to Ferrari at the Circuit de la Sarthe. But yeah, we're now underway with time qualifying. It is 15 minutes on the clock, and yeah, we've got a few of the BMW M8s. If anyone might remember the old meme where they went, "Oh, here comes the big beast," and the BMW was made to look about 25 times the size of any car out on the circuit, riding on board with one of the Ferrari 488 GTEs. So a wonderful mix of cars on the grid. We're actually on board with it's Connor Healy in the number 98 Ferrari. We're going to have close to, again, nearly a 30 car strong grid. For live timing, don't forget to use your smartphone and scan the QR code on the right hand side. Of course, we'll be spamming the live chat down at the bottom of the screen as we see Connor Healy go into turn 1. You've got to be very close to the inside wall as you run through turn 1 into 2. So let's stay on board with Connor Healy for a lap of this circuit here at the World Centre of Racing, into the Rodriguez International Horseshoe at turn 3. Very tight hairpin, about 50 miles an hour on the apex, first gear. Then you're going to go through into this fast left-hander here at the dog leg, pushing about 140 miles an hour in 5th gear. It's going to be hard on the brakes for another hairpin here at T5 at the West Horseshoe. And then we get to see the iconic banking being used. There'll be a lot of slipstreaming, a lot of side drafting as well. So up through the gears, on the brakes, through into turns 5, 6 and 7. And then this is when you really open up the taps on the car. You put the pedal to the metal, put the hammer down, and go straight to the bottom of the apron. Can't use the apron to overtake, otherwise you'll get a 1X. So speed climbing here for Connor Healy as he's down the back stretch, heading into turns 10 and 11, the famed Le Mans chicane. So down from 6th gear at 270 clicks, down to 3rd at about 175 kilometers an hour, exit out of T11, and again go through turn 12. We're going to be using part of the tri-oval here at Daytona. So again, the speed will build. Expect speeds north of 285 kilometers an hour when we get into full race trim, where people are really trying to make things go their way. Gustavo Ariel puts in the first lap time, 1:41.954 for the Brazilian, and well, no surprise at all, Gaio Valero has made a comeback, and he's in the Blue Oval. Now, is it the GT40 or the GT itself? Because of course, those wondering about the GT40 and the GT. Well, the GT is a car that was developed with Multimatic Motorsports, who still work hand in hand. And oh, Tim State, your boy stateside, is rocking the pink pig. Well done. Now, this is an iconic livery run by the likes of Laurent Vantour, and it very much has been a staple of Porsche sports car folklore. And it's great to see some of the iconic liveries being brought into iRacing, and you know, I have to give Tim State a you know, it's like kudos for that, for representing the Porsche Massive in the right livery.
My man. No, really good to see. Not only iconic, I mean, I dare say he's not the only iconic livery here, but one of the most iconic things about Tim is he's racing in VR. One of our only VR racers in AMX. Maybe there's some hidden ones out there we haven't seen yet. But yeah, he's coming out here and showing us how it's done in 3 dimensions, Alex. And you know, he is not one of the you know, upper echelon. He's a new racer, and he's coming in just trying to show what he can show. There is a minimum 2K rating for AMX 10, and he needs it. So we're letting him in and seeing what he can do. And, he said earlier that he is, doing his best and trying to learn as much as he can. And this is a great opportunity to learn from some of the best racers that we have out there. So really, really impressive to see some newcomers here and getting a chance to watch them grow and develop over the course of the season. It's really cool to see Tim Stade along here with us. So nice to see his iconic livery here as well.
Yeah, fastest recorded top speed through the speed traps is by our pole sitter at the moment. Gustavo Ariel has just clocked 177.6 miles an hour. That's, well, for those that understand kilometres per hour, that's 286.5 kilometres an hour. So expect speeds to go north of 290. That will be, I think, getting shy onto 180 miles an hour. And that is going to be incredibly dicey with what we will have in the form of close to 30 cars on the grid. So, again, David Toth running in the Ford GT. There's Norbert Leitner opting to go with one of the newer cars from the Ford stable. Of course, Ford now getting back into GT3 and GT4 racing. Actually saw both the Mustangs at Spa earlier on this year, so they'll be running in a multitude of championships. But it's a cool looking car, that big wing, the drivers that helped develop this car, the likes of Andy Prio, 3-time World Touring Car Championship, Joey Hand, Dirk Muller, Stefan Mücker, amongst others, were part of the team that really helped Chip Ganassi Racing make this car an absolute stalwart in GT racing right up until Ford decided to withdraw their involvement in GTE racing. But a lot of times coming on the board now, we had 19 of them so far. Facundo Rago in the number 13, rounding out the 19th at the moment. We've got the likes of Spetrinev, Lizakowski, Miranda, Resenge, Fernandez, Velas Boas, Gaspar, Kulhavi, Pereira, Cavalho. There's who's good to see that Guilherme Eliseu, who's currently running 14th in the number 57, is make that 16th. He's currently in the Corvette. Now I'm wondering whether it's the old school one or whether it's the C8. Of course, Corvette has now gone into a full-time GT3 offensive now. But yeah, I mean, it's still good to see cars like the Porsche, especially as we're with Kieran Harrison in the number 5, the teammate to Corentin Guignez, the number 5 Porsche. That flat 6 sound never gets old.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We have a couple of Corvettes here. It's Eliseu, and then way down there, yet to set a time. Currently, Carvalho has yet to show his Porsche or his Corvette way up there. But yeah, not everybody represented, but quite a smattering of some of the best racers. And it's no surprise we're seeing a lot of the black bars up towards the top. Ariel Toth and Gael Valero way up there. Victor Miranda is racing with us, but still needs to get his name up there on the list. And right as I say that, he is well on his way to doing that. And we're going to see a lot of updates because we're only about 10 minutes through. So plenty of time left to race as we check out Gerardo Ramos, who is going to show us what's going on here. He's racing for R70 team. You can see his livery right there. He is 41 years old, and that makes him the second oldest racer in AMX 10 here tonight. Don't quote me on that, but it's probably true. Gerardo R70, if you want to follow him on social media. And he's shown some really strong performances for a guy that's not, on one of the big top teams. He is really putting up some great work here in AMX 10 this season. So never know which Gerardo Ramos is going to show up. Depends on the car, depends on the track, depends on the day. But some great potential lodged in the Spaniard here. I'll be excited to see what happens once we get things racing.
Yeah, we are seeing a couple of cars stretch their legs and get into the 280s or the we've actually had one car hit 290 kilometers an hour. That was Fabrizio Belziti, 290 kph on the dot. That's just shy of around 180 miles an hour, as we are with Gustavo Ariel, who's gone with the Cavallino Rampante. For those people that don't understand Italian, of course, our colleague Marco would definitely be able to translate on the spot. The prancing horse, currently leading the way on a 1:41.954. He's over 3.5 tenths quicker than the leading forward on the grid, David Toth in second, Corentin Guignez, Kieran Harrison, and Fabrizio Belziti round out the top 5. Guignez, Harrison and Belziti running in the Porsches. Then we got a trio of Fords rounding out the top 8 with Caio Gaspar, Gaio Valero and Norbert Leitner. Sandro Villas-Boas and Jackson Resenje complete the top 10, covered by a second as we ride on board with the Brazilian in the number 91 as he makes his way through into T1. 4 minutes to go on the timer. 26 of the 29 cars have set a lap time. Pedro Oliveira in the BMW number 7 has yet to come out of the pit lane. Victor Miranda has had 2 laps disallowed, having invalidated track limits, and Gaston Kulhavi yet to put his name on the leaderboard at the moment, and he's done nearly 4.5 laps, so it's getting a bit close to the wire here, Reed.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm glad you mentioned kind of what our times are looking at here. If you want to compare these to stats set in the real world, you have to look all the way back to 2020 when Jesse Krohn set a 1:42.1 in his GTE out in the 24 hours of Daytona. A great race because it does set these hot lap times. And it's really cool to see Gustavo Ariel just tenths faster, showing us what is possible here in the simulator, a 1:41.954, as we watch how he did it from his first-person perspective. I guess it's second person in the cockpit alongside him, but really, really showing that he's got it dialed in on the GTE here on the Daytona course.
Thing is, whilst he was going through turn 9, there were a couple of bumps because I could actually hear that the tyres were spinning at 6th gear at full throttle. And that's the thing here, the surface, I mean, this banking is around about a 31-degree angle, so you're really going to see a lot of people going either high and wide and handsome around the outside. That's a NASCAR term for those folks that don't understand that one. Gustavo Ariel crosses the line, and on that particular occasion that was a 1:42.7, so loss of a bit of pace through turn 9. So you are literally trying your absolute damnedest, because we are getting down to the wire. Norbert Leitner is going out probably for what might be his last opportunity to set a flying lap, but with the servers to cut off the qualifying sessions very, very quickly here on AMX Global. So you might be 30 seconds into your lap, but sometimes the server will go, well, time is gone. You'll probably have 30 to 60 seconds. David Toth pulls over to the inside of the wall at T1. Well, that was not David Toth, that was one of the Porsches, but there's David Toth making his way through into turn 2 on the run down to the Rodriguez International Horseshoe. He's currently 4th at the moment. They 1:42.281 as the number 24 of Diego Villarreal keeps out of the way. So, yeah. And one of the things I do like about sim racing is when we see these drivers, and all of them, which is a requirement for, it's an actual statutory requirement for AMX 10 that all the drivers must be on their webcams. Look at the concentration, the sternness of that concentration. It's like David Toth has got a 1,000-yard stare there, Reed, as he's trying to fling this Ford GT round the Daytona International Speedway on his final lap in qualifying.
Yeah, it really is. And this is something that you see a lot from the absolute top racers. It can be easy to get distracted. These guys are racing in real life in various different situations, but when you're in the simulator, you got to get dialed in. And it's very easy to see that David Toth is absolutely laser focused here. And it shows, really. I mean, this guy is putting up some really, really impressive performances and really showing that he can contest some of the best racers out here, keeping it close, even fighting for the lead most of the time against guys like Gustavo Ariel. He's got 10K iRating, and we're going to talk about it over and over again because he is just that good. Excited to see some competitors really fighting for those top 10 spots. And we're about done with qualifying as we near the final 20 seconds, Alex. So really limited times to make it through the finish line, and I don't think any of our other racers have time to make their lap. Oh, come on. Come on.
I saw that from David Toth. He was bump drafting on the back of Norbert Leitner to get to within 5/100ths of a second in qualifying. Again, another close one here in qualifying, so we're going to have a look through the results. It is going to be Gustavo Ariel, who again, by probably the length of the width of the rear wing, has just taken pole position for Heat 1. Of course, we're going to reverse the top 15. So David Toth, 52 thousandths behind him. We'll start alongside, well, we'll start with him in 14th. Corentin Guignez, Victor Miranda, Kieran Harrison, they ran out the top 5. So those drivers will occupy positions 15 to 11. Then it's Norbert Leitner, Jackson Resenji, Fabrizio Belziti, Kaya Gaspar, Gael Valero, Sandro Boas, Pedro Mora, Pedro Dean, Rodrigo Lizokowski, and Guilherme Eliseu ran at the top 15. So Eliseu gets pole position for this first heat. Eric Troiano, Vinicius Dean, and Gaston Coulhavy ran at the top 18. Connor Healy, Fabio Zampellini, Gerardo Ramos, Rafael Casacorta, Diego Villarreal, Danilo Fernandez, Facundo Rago, Washington Pereira Cavallo, Tim State, Felipe Spetriniv, and Pedro Oliveira set to round out the 29-strong grid. We are waiting for a few of our drivers to ready up and get on the grid for what will be a very, very packed and action-filled opening heats. Of course, the results from Heat 1 will then dictate the grid for Heat 2. And then again, like we always do here on AMX Global, we'll reverse the finishes for the top 15 for Heat number 2. So 29 cars set to go into action. So here is the grid. Eliseu from Lizikowski on row 1, Dean from Mora, row 2, Boas from Valero, row 3, Gaspar, Belziti, Lesenje and Leitner ran at the top 10, Harrison, Miranda, Guinness, Toth and Ariel ran at the top 15 with Troiano, Vinicius Dean, Gaston Coulhavy, Connor Healy, Fabio Zampellini, Gerardo Ramos, Rafael Casacorta, Diego Villarreal, Danilo Fernandez, Facundo Rago, Washington Pereira Cavallo, Tim State, Felipe Spetriniv and Pedro Oliveira set to take to the grid. Of course, we are seeing 19 cars on our timing screens at the moment. There's a few others now starting to join the fray, but the Porsche pace car will peel in very, very soon as we are getting ready for the first of two great races here at Daytona International Speedway here, Reed.
That's right. We do have two races. It's two heats, and really one sets the stage for the other. And this is why we have heat number 1, and this is after a top 15 reverse grid. Because we're going to say, okay, if you qualified quickly, can you do that again in a real race situation? And then when we put all of our drivers in this race situation in a heat 1, you get a chance to see, okay, well, this is how it happened here. Can you do it again in heat number 2, which is really the final heat of the day? And as the pace car heads out, we're about to go racing here, Alex.
And it's a Corvette that leads the way. Guilherme Eliseu leads the field into turn number 1 here on lap 1 out of 8. As that is very, very brave by Gustavo Ariel, and he nearly gets caught out. There's an incident at T1. One of the Porsches goes spinning backwards, and that might have been... That's Fabio Zampellini. Oh, we've got another one off on the run to the Horseshoe. The International Horseshoe, there's doors being banged. I think Kieran Harrison has picked up damage. There's another Porsche with its rear end completely obliterated. Well, I thought it was going to be crazy in GT4. GTE have just leveled the playing field and then some on the start.
Yeah, that's Oliveira, Spetriniv, Rago, and Pereira out. I think Fernandez also might be out as well. So some really, really rough racing out there at the beginning. For all intents and purposes, we are keeping it a little bit dangerously close. I gotta say, Alex, the first lap of the race is definitely the deadliest. You have to know that as a racer, not only because of the reverse grid, but also because it's just how race starts work. Every race you ever start is going to be the danger zone. You have to make sure that you are keeping it defensive. Everybody wants to make the lunge into T1. Everybody wants to send it, but let me just tell you, that is not a high percentage move. And now as we watch Sandro de los Boas, he is really racing Victor Miranda here. Miranda drops out and drops back several places. I don't know if that's damage or defeat, but either way, Miranda is way out of contention.
They were side by side heading into turn 10 at the opening part of the Le Mans chicane, and unfortunately Miranda was on the receiving end of what was happening there. But look at that, Pedro Dean with the Porsche manages to get round the outside as we complete the opening lap out of 8 and powers past through the front stretch heading into T1 round the outside of Guilherme Eliseu, who is 3 wide. Oh dear, you've got Harrison, Boas, Ariel, Toth, Light involved in this skirmish as they come out of turn 2. It's nearly 3 wide again on the run down to the Rodriguez International Horseshoe. Someone did go off. That was one of the Porsches, not too sure, trying to catch the number. Oh, we've got dramas!
Whoa,
big
no.
drama! That is carnage on lap 2. Belziti involved, That just goes to show. I think Corentin Guignez was also involved, and he's out. Troiano out. They are falling like flies on this second lap. I thought, okay, we'll have the madness in lap 1. At Daytona, you cannot leave anything to chance. You've got to watch everything that you're doing. But Pedro Dean now coming under fire from Guilherme Eliseu. We go back. Caio Gaspar in the number 22 Ford GT has got a Porsche behind him. That's Kieran Harrison from SimRC, the teammate to Corentin Guignez, who's got David Toth not too far behind. And there we got Cole Harvey closing in on Vinicius Dean. That was through the chicane there. That's not getting any easier, but we'll see if Harrison has the lead, but the opportunity to get through. But David Toth is going to go round the outside at the front straightaway. Is he going to get the run into turn 1? This is going to be nip and tuck, but I think Harrison might thread the eye of the needle. They both get through on Gaspar, and Harrison makes it stick, but David Toth picks up the fastest lap of the race. You can see on the crash, it actually happened on the run through turn number 1. And yeah, that was not great at all.
Yeah, no, we're going to watch a replay of this crash on the first lap in picture-in-picture. It starts with just an easy runoff, and then the rejoin, I think, makes it even worse. You're already going to be slow, and you join into the middle of the pack. That sends a whole bunch of racers the wrong way, and then it happens again and again. And, really, it's not only just about being fast, it's also about what you do with that speed. And a lot of that comes from defensive driving early on in the first couple of laps. We're only doing 8 laps here today, so you really do have to make that time up, but doing it in a safe way is paramount to being able to finish this race in the place that you want. On board with a lot of the big winners from not only the reverse grid, but also the defensive driving class that we want to teach here in AMX 10. David Toth finds himself on a +10 drive. Gustavo Ariel +8. They've managed to skirt their way through the carnage. Ramos up into the points from out of the points. Really rare to see that done, and he's doing it in style. Calavi also on a similar drive. A lot of big winners here in the top 10, top 15 as we complete, or near rather, our halfway point for our first heat on Daytona.
Yeah, indeed. It is very, very close pack racing when you get into a 3-way scrap, because we've got one here for 4th, 5th and 6th. It could involve the car in 7th at the moment, which is Gustavo Ariel, who's just put in the fastest lap, 1:42.528. As we see a little bit further back, Mora through on Eliseu for 2nd position. So it's 2 Porsches leading the way, then a Corvette, followed by a Ford GT, another Porsche, another Ford GT, and then that is going to be the highest placed Ferrari in the field so far. Gustavo Ariel, who's also put in the fastest lap of the race. As you said, on a bit of a tear at the moment. Not going to be a good one for Corentin Guignez, who looks to be, is out of the race after just 20% of lap 2. As you can hear the scream from the 4-litre flat 6 boxer engine powering the Porsche, the number 20, Pedro Mora. Moment it's a Texaco TK12 with Dean leading. Well, it's not Pedro Dean, not with it's a 2-3. My apologies there, because you've got Mora being closed in by Eliseu. But look, David Toth is closing. He's going to launch it up the inside through onto Pedro Mora. Is he going to get 2 for the price of 1? Yes, he is. Through into the Le Mans chicane. David Toth from 4th to 2nd, and he's on a flyer.
It really feels like we've overlapped David Toth with the race, right? He's racing on his own, and we're just showing him on the racetrack here, because he really is passing almost literally straight through the cars in front of him. He is just a hot knife through butter all the way up into P2, and now whereas he was a second behind P1, now only half a second as he rockets towards first place.
Yeah, and he's taken 1.6 seconds out of Pedro Dean for the race lead. The gap now is about 5.
doing a quick refresh and seeing if this makes any difference. Hopefully, we can get back up and running here in just a second, as currently I think we might be a bit quiet, Alex.
But it just goes to show that this racing here at Daytona International Speedway has provided madness as David Toth leads the way as we head onto lap 6 out of 8. 3 to go, including this one. And he is going to try and pull away, but Kieran Harrison is closing in on the Porsche of Pedro Dean just in front. He's getting very late on the brakes through into the Rodriguez International Horseshoe at turn 3. Now we'll use the runoff area on the left-hand side to try and get the traction out. He's going to try and possibly line up a move into T5 at the Western Horseshoe on Pedro Dean, but Dean might need to make that Porsche as wide as humanly possible. David Toth trying to stretch away into the distance. It's not quite working yet, but Harrison has been very much on a par with David Toth. Pedro Dean, who's piggy in the middle in that number 2 Porsche, now will come under the attack with significant pressure. Kieran Harrison, as they come through out of turn 7 through turn 8, part of this tri-oval facility here at Daytona International Speedway. Heat 1 has already provided its sense of drama. This is going to be the case of when does Kieran Harrison pull the trigger. It's not going to be through the Le Mans chicane. It's going to be on the run down to turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And this run-up is going to get even more close, tight as it gets over and around the inside goes Kieran Harrison into P2. Pedro Dean can only watch and wave as he is passed for a second time, maintaining that third place that he started with, but unceremoniously being dealt with there. Kieran Harrison really getting it done very, very smoothly. Although I will say, Pedro Dean is not giving up without a fight, Alex.
No, he is not. We've got still a little bit more action, a little bit more gas in the tank, so to speak, here at the World Centre of Racing. We ride on board from the left door cam of Pedro Dean in the number 2 Porsche, the leading Brazilian at the moment, but you've got to keep your eyes on Gustavo Ariel, who's closing that gap. It's now down to 8/10 of a second. Ariel was 7/10 quicker as the field makes its way through into what will be turn 5. Yeah, I mean, Pedro Dean, I have to give him a shout out on this one because he got the lead off of Eliseu, who's dropped down to P7, and has really kept in touch with the leaders. I thought the Ford GT might have the legs on the cars behind, but looking through the speed traps, Kieran Harrison is 8 kilometers an hour faster than David Toth, whose top speed so far in this race has only been 274 kph. Kieran Harrison, 282.3.
Yeah, and Tim State is up at over 400. No, I think it glitched out there for a second. But for the most part, the speeds are pretty comparable. But actually, kind of interesting to see that one of the slower speeds, 274, belongs to David Toth in first. So I'm not sure exactly how that works, but it is remarkable to see some very, very high top speeds. Vinicius Dean up at almost 300 kmh, kilometers per hour. He is really putting up a show, and he's plus 10 for it.
Yeah, very much the case. But we are on the white flag lap as David Toth leads the field into turns 1 and 2 on the opening tour. In the meantime, Kieran Harrison has pulled away from Pedro Dean, who's now coming under the pressure of Gustavo Ariel, who's gunning for that final position on the virtual rostrum here at the World Centre of Speed, the Daytona International Speedway road course, the home of the Rolex 24 at Daytona. That happens every single year, every late January. Best and biggest teams in GTP, GT3, GTD, amongst others, and also LMP2 and LMP3 run around this fantastic facility. But we ride on board from the rear bumper cam of Pedro Dean. Again, get to hear that flat 6-boxer engine, but I feel the Jaws music burning into my eardrums, Dean, because Gustavo Ariel is closing, but he's running out of not only laps, but corners too.
Yeah, that's right. We are on white flag, Alex, and that means there's limited time available. Pedro Dean has had to deal with some of the toughest racers on the field. Passed by Top, passed by Harrison, and now Gustavo Ariel is coming up on him through our final few corners, Alex. This is the last place we get to do it. I'm not sure what happened to all of our places below 12, but for the first few places, the action is absolutely heating up down to the wire. You got Alizeo looking to make a move on Mora to get closer to that top 5, and obviously Ariel is going for it. He is trying to make this overtake happen into the top 3, and there he goes around the outside. He gets him, but can he stick the place too? He is still on the outside. Dean coming through hard, thick and fast through the bottom side. He gets it right back.
Photo finish for third. Ariel pips Dean by 5 1,000ths at the flag. David Toth started down in, I can't believe this, I'm saying 14th and picks up the W. Kieran Harrison gains 9 places to finish second. Gustavo Ariel in the closest ever finish we have ever seen for a podium position, from 15th to 3rd by 5 1,000ths ahead of Pedro Dean. The battles are still going on. Coolharvey and Troiano battling away as they will now make their way through the final part of the tri-oval onto the front stretch, and it is going to be Troiano that pips Coolharvey, whose BMW M8 looks a bit battered at the front end of it, but wow, what a win by David Toth. We've got Felipe Spetliniv coming across the line. The Brazilian will finish in 25th ahead of likes of Fabrizio Belziti, but that was a crazy first heat for race 29 of AMX 10. Let's have a look at the results. David Toth takes the win by nearly 1.4 seconds ahead of SimRC's Kieran Harrison. Gustavo Ariel picks up $20 by pipping Pedro Dean. It was even closer than we thought. It was 2 1,000ths on the revised timing for the final step on the rostrum. Caio Gaspar in 5th ahead of Pedro Mora, with Guilherme Eliseo, Victor Miranda, Gerardo Ramos and Diego Villarreal rounding out the top 10. Finishes Dean, Norbert Leitner, Rafael Cazacota, Facundo Rago, and your Heat 2 top 15 reverse grid pole sitter will be Connor Healy. Tim State starts 16th, ahead of Fabio Zampolini with Jackson Asenge, Rodrigo Lizokowski, Washington Pereira, Cavalho completing the top 20 with Eric Troiano, Gaston Coolharvey, Felipe Spetliniv, Danilo Fernandez, Fabrizio Belziti, Corentin Guinness, Gaio Valero, Sandro Villas-Boas and Pedro Oliveira set to round out the 29-strong grid. I can't believe that. I really cannot believe what happened in that battle for P3. That was crazy, but we got Heat 2 about to happen here, Reed. I don't want lightning to strike twice when it comes to lap 1, because that was just crazy, and then lap 2 just took the mayhem madness up another level, didn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely did, Alex. Don't want a repeat of that, but there are a lot of things I do want repeats too. That photo finish, give me more. A lot of the intense racing moves like, really just the entire race there by Toth was just picture perfect. What I do want to see is this time around, we had both of our French drivers, Corentin Guinness and Gaio Valero, got taken out in all that carnage at the beginning of the last race. Hopefully they make it through safely to get some actual racing done, because when they are on their game, they can absolutely make some miracles happen. And I do feel like we might be in store for a lot of miracles, given how chaotic the first half of the race was. So there might be a lot to see when it comes to the racing here, not just where we start, but obviously where we finish here. And with the pace car heading in, this means we are about to go green for our final heat of the night tonight, Alex.
Well, we're underway in racing here at Daytona as it's 2x2 Noah's Ark style into the opening corner as Facundo Rago looked to get through on Connor Healy, who leads the field through out of the second corner in towards the Rodriguez International Horseshoe. Some battles up and down the order, a few Porsches, a Corvette or two and a Ford GT as Connor Healy's dropped it on the outside of the Horseshoe. And has dropped all the way down to what will be 6th position. Victor Miranda went off the circuit as well in his own right. No, it wasn't. It's Facundo Rago who was going through the kink at turn 4. Kazakurta late on the brakes. Dean and Eliseu, Ramos, Toth, Gaspar, Cavalho, they are fanning out. That's a lot cleaner start. A couple of mistakes, unforced errors. Of course, Conor Healy probably didn't expect himself to be at the front end of the field in pole position, heading into turns 1 and 2, and then after turn 3 at the Rodriguez International Horseshoe, just went a bit too wide on the exit. But now we see the likes of Norbert Leitner battling away with Gustavo Ariel. Ariel on the opening lap has made up 9 places. That's ridiculous. Make that 10.
Yeah, 10 places also for Jackson Asenge as he valued himself in 8th after starting 18th. What? I have no idea what's happening right now. Crucially enough, we did see a pretty big disaster towards the bottom of the field that I'm not sure what happened there, but for some reason we have 16 racers left out of 26, so something might have dealt with them. A lot to watch here at the front, though, as we do see big moves being taken. Leitner fighting his way for that top 3 against Gustavo Ariel. They are absolutely neck and neck, but Ariel gets him and pushes his way on through to that top 3. Pedro Dean making up a place. Kazakurta coming up a place. Ariel making up a place over Rago into 2nd. There's so much action going on here as the bottom 3 move up. 17, 18, 19 getting up into the standings also. Oh, Ramos climbing as Toth falls, and Toth getting spun out there. He is gone.
Oh, no! No, that's a big off for Jackson Asenge out of the horseshoe. Oh, he was pitched sideways. Someone's had to avoid as well. In the meantime, going into turn 4, Tim State is there in around about 20th position. He's going to be sandwiched going through into the Western Horseshoe at turn 5. But that was a massive off. I think Resenje might have gotten a little bit of an assist. But look at this. Miranda and Ariel. It's a Ferrari 1-2. More importantly, it's a Texaco Racing by 1-2. But look at Norbert Leitner. Round the outside of Facundo Rago from the voracious sim racing team. Through onto the back stretch, heading into the Le Mans chicane. Picture in picture, you see a replay of the incident at the start. And that was going into turn 1. I think that was also... that was a Sim RC car. That was Corentin Guignez, I think, being spun around again. So, lightning, unfortunately, has struck for the Frenchman twice. Our points leader in AMX 10, coming into race day 29. But look, Ariel bump drafting on Miranda. Leitner's going to get a double toe as they're going through into the front stretch. As we complete lap 2, onto 3 we go. And Ariel goes now for the move up the inside, through into T1. Ariel up from 13th. Now hits the front of the field.
Amazing, incredible. Consistency, skill, everything you could ask for. Victor Miranda and Gustavo Ariel are doing it better than everybody else. Now, Norbert Leitner is looking to get up there, so we don't know what's going to happen, but let's check out the middle of the field where all that action is happening. We're all over the place, but the picture is the same. The action down towards that bottom 15th place is heating up. It's crazy. I don't know what's going to happen, but let's look at where we are up at the front. Facundo Arago and Leitner, these guys are absolutely gunning for those top 2 Tony Kanaan livery racers in 1 and 2.
In the meantime, Corentin Guignez has made up 16 positions. No surprise there for the Sim RC driver. Now he's battling away with the likes of Pedro Dean and Kaya Gaspar for 9th on the grid. So that is going to be interesting over the next few laps. Track temperature now 50 degrees Celsius as Norbert Leitner closes on it on Miranda and Ariel. It's a bump draft squabble here down the back stretch into the Le Mans chicane. Ariel, Miranda and Leitner cannot be separated. Facundo Rago is keeping in the ringside seats in 4th. And the top 4, folks, after what will very shortly be a completed 3 laps of this Daytona International Speedway, is about 0.8 of a second. But Ariel and Miranda are working together. They're trying to keep Leitner at bay, but that Ford GT is incredibly quick in a straight line, and Ariel has posted the fastest speed of the race through the traps, nearly 295 kilometers an hour by the number 91 Ferrari. Incredible.
Yeah, absolutely magnificent. We are watching the best of what I wanted to see from that previous race. Not to mention, we do have Corentin Guignez, who had that rough start, now up into 10th, make it 9th in a second if he can make up those final 500s, and there he is up into ninth. So some big moves from the Frenchman down below. Not so lucky from his compatriot Gaio Valero, who finds himself languishing down in 8th and number 33. Stuck in the tar pits down there. Might be where he ends if he can't pull himself out. So keeping an eye on the front race as well. Norbert Leitner, the Hungarian driver, trying to make it up another place. Victor Miranda, his opponent there, is going to make it a very, very close race as we check out the Kyle Gaspar crash from earlier towards the back of the pack.
Yeah, that was more of he had contact going into the Le Mans chicane, and that dropped him all the way down to 21st position. He started 11th on the grid just over 3.5 laps ago, so we are currently set to complete very soon lap 4, so we'll be halfway through this race, and still at the front end of the field it is nip and tuck. There you can probably cover those top 4 with an A4 sheet of paper and they would still all fit underneath it at this moment. But we look back now at Gerardo Ramos, who's trying to reel in Connor Healy. Connor's doing a great job. I mean, stuck on the top 15 reverse grid pole, as now it's getting a bit dicey. Leitner looking right, looking left. Into turn number 1, we've got the picture-in-picture at the onboard from Victor Miranda, who's between a rock and a hard place, and is sandwiched in between the pair of Gustavo Ariel and Norbert Leitner as they go through into the Rodriguez International Horseshoe. Oh, that was nearly a mistake there, I think, from Miranda, who was way late on the brakes, and he could have tapped Ariel into a spin into the barriers off for turn number 3, but Leitner in that 4 GT is looking rather racy there, Reed.
Oh, rather racy describes quite a bit of this race, Alex. I can't ask for more. As we continue to see this be so close, so competitive, and honestly, I'm a big believer in Leitner. This guy has been lighting up the timing tower all night long, and I think he's got it in him. Victor Miranda, obviously one of the best racers we have here, but Leitner is just keeping so close and now closing to within 2/10. Looks like he might even be going for a move here. Alex, he is speeding up and trying to find his way around the outside.
It's going to be easier said than done. It's one thing to catch a driver, it's another thing altogether to pass them as they head through the Le Mans chicane at turns 10 and 11, and then go back onto the final part of the tri-oval. And Facundo Arago, I have to give him a shout out. The Argentinian's done a great job holding station in 4th place. So I think one of the other things is Corentin Guignez to be stuck a little bit in 16th. Gaio Valero, his French rival from Apex Racing Team, up 14 places from 27th on the grid. But again, we go into turn 1. We're on to lap 6, effectively lap 6 out of 8. So we'll have after this, we'll have 3 still to go. And again, you cannot separate any one of these 3 drivers. They've now started to pull away ever so slightly to about a second between Leitner and Facundo Arago. That's 3rd and 4th position. We've still got the onboard from Victor Miranda, picture-in-picture on your screens as they go through turn 4 into the Western Horseshoe at 5. As David Toth and Guilherme Olizeu have both got past Connor Healy, who's now rounding out the top 10. Jackson Asenje up 7 places from 18th to 11th. Sandro Boas, now make that 8 because he's just got past Connor Healy for P10. But again now, I'm wondering if Miranda, who's now lost a lot of time to Gustavo Ariel. The gap is about just under 0.3 of a second, but Leitner is gearing up for a move. Where's he going to park the 4 GT? It could be to the inside of the run to turn 10 at the Le Mans chicane. But he thinks better of it at this moment. Again, through the chicane, you don't really want to go side by side, as Kyle Gaspar found out a little bit earlier on in the race. And out of the chicane, it looks like the Ferraris have better traction in comparison with the Ford GT. And Site 815 has just put in chat, Norbert needs new curtains.
I don't know what he's talking about. I love those curtains, man. Nice throwback back there. Look at, I don't want to say bump drafting, but look at how close the two Texaco Racing by Tony Kanaan cars are. It was Victor Miranda trying to actually maybe even get past him, but making it as difficult as possible for Leitner to make this overtake. But you can see the smile on his face, man. He knows this is going to be a real challenge. And honestly, I think he is up for it. It's been a close race. He's been able to keep it close despite everything else that's been going on, like this Quarantine Ganez incident from earlier. I don't know if that was direct contact. Might have been a little bit of a net code, but either way, you can see him trying to save it, but he can't keep it on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, that just goes to show how quickly things can go south. It's not been a great night for the AMX 10 standings leader, and of course with the rear diffuser on that car missing, there was a couple of little bit of drama in front of them. Actually, one of them was the number 2, Pedro Dean, and then one of the BMWs from South American Racing Team. But we will be going on to 2 to go after this one, and Gustavo Ariel continues to lead the way. Victor Miranda in second, Norbert Leitner, Facundo Rago, Pedro Mora, David Toth, Gerardo Ramos, Diego Villarreal, Guilherme Eliseu, and Jackson Resenge round out the top 10. This time around, we should get the white flag here at the Daytona International Speedway, the world centre of racing. One more time, it's going to be very, very close to see who will pick up the win. As now Miranda closing in. I think the gloves might be off as we will head across the start-finish line. White flag in the air one more time here at Daytona, and Norbert Leitner trying to go around the outside of Victor Miranda through into turn 1. Will the Ford make it through on the Ferrari? The answer is no, not quite yet, but he's still going to try and get the exit out of turn 1 and through on the run down to the Rodriguez International Horseshoe. It's game on the final lap.
Oh, so close, even closer than before, and moves like that are absolutely what is needed. But with only one lap left, we are running out of time here. Norbert Leitner is by far the most electrifying man on the track right now, and he might be looking for another opportunity. He's not going to take the inside angle here, but I think he's setting up for it. Look at the angle he's taking through here, coming out around on the inside. Can he make it happen? He's only got less than 10 corners left. Coming around there, he can't find another angle, continually blocked at every single moment. Alex, we are running out of time, and Leitner, it feels like he might be running out of chances.
Yep, through turn 8 for the final time on lap 8 out of 8 here at the Daytona International Speedway for what has been an enticing and captivating battle at the front end of the field. They go down the back stretch on the run down to the Le Mans chicane. Leitner's looking to the inside. Miranda covers him off. Ariel holding station on the racing line through the Le Mans chicane. It turns 10 and 11. Now it's going to be the run to the checkered. Who's going to get the better traction? Who's going to get the better hole shot? Leitner looking to the inside on Miranda. Is he going to go high, wide and handsome on the final couple of corners? He is going to make it 3 wide. This is incredible. Photo finish. Wait for it. Brace yourselves. Leitner's got a nose ahead. Through into the final corner. Is it going to be Ford winning on home soil? It's going to be down to the line. It's Miranda. And it's no 10 1,000s covering first to third. It was like the Indy Lights race at Indianapolis at the Brickyard a few years ago. The closest ever finish we have seen in AMX Global history. And it happened to be at Daytona. Leitner went for the move on the outside at turn 13, got about half a car length in front, but it was Miranda that decided to dive to the inside, out through the final part of the tri-oval, and got the win. Mamma mia!
I feel like only a few moments ago in AMX 0, you said the closest race we've ever seen in AMX Global League Season 3, Alex, if I'm not mistaken. And now here we are again. I don't really know what happened there. And honestly, the classic saying in racing is that the stopwatch never lies. But I don't know. I mean, that might be a little bit of a white lie. Who knows there? You can see the look on Victor Miranda's face. He's just like, Yeah, I guess I won. Okay. He's looking at the replay. He's like, how did I do that? Wow. What a move that you cannot make up stories like this. Victor Miranda, Gustavo Ariel, Norbert Leitner, neck and neck. I don't know if we could pay all these three guys the same because I don't know. How do you react to something like that, Alex? It doesn't get closer than that.
Yeah, like I said, we had the closest finish for a podium position, which was P3 at Road Atlanta. And now we've gone one better. 20,000s covering Miranda, Ariel, and Leitner. It was going to be a cat and mouse game. It was just a case of when were we going to see Norbert Leitner throw the Hail Mary round the outside? He did that exactly. He waited until coming out of the Le Mans chicane, knew that the Ford GT would have the legs on the Ferraris, but the two Brazilians, I have to say, it was just crazy. I've never seen a race at Daytona in sim racing be that close after 8 laps. I mean, I've watched the iRacing Daytona 24 hours, but an 8-lap sprint, that was textbook what we want here on AMX Global, folks. And we've already had Site 816 in chat saying, what the was that? You know, like literally, everyone here at AMX, as well as you folks watching on Twitch and YouTube, have just seen the closest ever AMX Global finish to a heat. Incredible. I can't believe it.
That's what I want to see every time, every race. I don't care. Whatever we got to do to replicate that over and over again. What we're going to do, actually, guys, is just show this replay in place of all of our other races. And it's just going to be too good. What an incredible way. And this is Leitner's first time out here in AMX racing what I mean, you got to call that the race of his life. So close for so long. And then finally going for it in a photo finish. You really just got some of the best moves all season. And we're 50 races in, which means that if that's what it looks like now, imagine what we're going to have coming up as we go into the final races of the season, Alex. It just doesn't get much better than that, but it's about to.
Yeah, exactly. We've got more racing action tomorrow night, but we'll talk about that after, speaking to some of the drivers. A big thank you to everyone that's been involved in the chat tonight on Twitch and on YouTube. We really do appreciate all your comments. Don't forget, you can hit us up on socials, folks. We got Facebook, X or Twitter or whatever the hell you want to call it these days. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram. You can even head to our website at amxrace.com. So if you are an iRacing driver, you've got to have a minimum of 2k iRacing for AMX 10, but you can join us at AMX 0 and work your iRating up to get into the top tier of our racing league here. You can also follow us on Twitch. You can also subscribe to us and make sure you get the notification bell on YouTube, and also you can find us on TikTok as well whilst you're at it. But I think we're going to go to a brief break in just a moment, Reed, because we've got some interviews coming up shortly, haven't we?
Yeah, that's right. Can't wait to hear from some of our racers tonight. It was an electrifying race. Let's see what they have to say. I want to go ahead and give a big welcome to David Toth. This is the first time that we're getting a chance to interview you here, and it's almost your first race here in AMX Global League Season 3. How did you find out about this tournament, and what has your experience been like so far?
Hello, thank you very much. I saw it on Twitch, somebody streamed it, and I was doing Dollar World Championship, so I didn't want to compete in the same time here as well, but after it finished, I was and this was quite crazy, to be honest. I was happy in the quali because I worked together with Norbert Leitner. Races. I did one mistake, I think, in the second race as well. We will see. But overall, it's a very, very fun and enjoyable experience.
I mean, it is a little bit crazy with the top 15 reverse grid, but somehow, even still, you were able to show some really, really impressive racing, oftentimes being able to make up 10, 15 places, some really impressive driving. And tonight we were racing GT4s and GTEs. I'm guessing you have quite a bit of experience with those cars. Did that help you when you were racing tonight?
Yeah, definitely. I had some experience with it. To be honest, in GT4, Corentin was very fast, so he deserved to win. And for the GTE, I felt like the Ford is very good compared to other cars. So I was happy that I could race with it. And yeah, it was very fast in the straights, so it was quite easy for me to overtake.
Now, you mentioned that you were working with Norbert Leitner in the race today. What is sim racing like in Hungarian esports scene? And how do you did you race there first, or have you always been competing at a very high level?
I have to say the Hungarian esports scene is very good. There are some championships going on in the entire year. There is a GT4 championship actually in Hungary with 50 plus drivers, so it's very popular. So I would say Hungary is doing very good job in sim racing, especially in iRacing.
So you're here racing in AMX, but you've also competed in a lot of other tournaments and had quite a lot of success. If people want to watch more of you racing, where can they see more of the tournaments that you're racing in?
Next weekend is the IMSA Esports Championship. I will race there with a GT3 with my team, so they can watch that. And I'm planning to do these AMX races in the future as well, so I'll be here.
All right. Well, we've loved having you here this season. Congratulations on your success here tonight, and we look forward to seeing more of you in the future.
Thank you very much.
Yep, some great words of wisdom from David Toth, and really exciting to hear not only about what sim racing is like in Hungary, but also his experience helping him out here today with his compatriot helping him out earlier on, and what an experience for him tonight. I don't think you could plan any of that, Alex.
No, I mean, you've got some heavy hitters. Of course, CSLR1 have just concluded the full majors in DreamHack Hanover. Unfortunately, none of our good friends from Team Redline were able to take the championship title, but you've got a few other Hungarians in there, the likes of Ginny Tom and Marcel Chinchik, who run with R8G, Roman Grosjean's esports squad. I've had the pleasure of speaking to, commentating on a few drivers, especially when there was a Hungarian powerhouse sim racing team called Varga Sim Racing, which Ginny and Marcel were part of. And it's really good to hear from someone like David who said that he's going to be back, and that's something that's mouth-watering for, I think, not just us here on commentary and also the production team, but for you people to really understand that we are not just attracting people from South America, from the LATAM region, but we're going to like CEE, so Central Eastern Europe and Central Europe and the UK. So there's a lot of great drivers that will definitely be feeding this as word of mouth, saying, come on, go over to AMX and give it a go. But we're going to now take a replay look at this photo finish, which I have to say, hand on heart, I was waiting for the defibrillator to sort of like be on standby here in the office here in my location here in the UK. But I think, we look at how it all started off, that we had Gustavo Ariel, Victor Miranda doing a 1-2. Now, here is when things start going off, and it's Norbert Leitner going towards the outside. and he
And it's
gets
not
about half a car length ahead.
And right about here is where I thought things were actually going to be very, very dangerous. Right before the finish line, you saw both TK racing cars almost collide into each other, and I thought they were going to crash out right before the end. But you saw, I mean, you can't even imagine. It's not that they were very close when they crossed the line. It's that they were only very close when they crossed the line, and never before or after then. It was just that one magical moment when the stars aligned, and I mean, I would have had to pause it and get out my tape measure, Alex. Just that close.
It was probably from Victor Miranda to Norbert Leitner was probably the length on the car of a front splitter. That's how close 20 thousandths of a second was between the three. But the thing was, when we saw Miranda try and move away from Leitner, so not to have a hip check, and then we have a massive wreck going across the start-finish line through the tri-oval. But then in some respects, Ariel had to respond and ended up going slightly south of the apron. But we're going to gear up and get ready for another interview with one of our drivers here on AMX 10 Race 29, so we'll be back in a couple of seconds.
All right, welcome, Norbert Leitner. It's our first time to get a chance to talk to you. How did you find out about AMX, and what has your experience been like so far?
Hello, guys. I found out AMX like 2 or 3 days ago through a friend who is racing here. So yeah, it was quite fun racing here. Yeah. Quite eventful in this last race too.
Yeah, it was a really crazy finish to our final race. Talk me through what was going through your mind when you were going for the win there in the final seconds of Heat 2.
Yeah, I was going behind the TK team, behind Ariel and Miranda. So I was planning to do this all race long, so it almost worked, but in the end I got some side rep from the car next to me, so I felt like I was hit by the other car, but it was some air who hit me, and I touched the wall, so I lost speed. And that's how I finished third.
It was so close, just thousandths of a second away. Have you ever had a finish that close before?
Yeah, especially in NASCAR. So yeah, I had quite a few races. Race was close as this.
Wow. Well, your first time here, and it was such an exciting finish. Now, we just heard from Toth, who's also there from Hungary. What is your sim racing path been like? How did you get started in sim racing, and what are you competing in right now?
Yeah, I was started in a PlayStation and Gran Turismo. So like Gran Turismo 2, I think. It was like 20 years ago.
Wow.
So yeah, now I race in Impulse Racing, and I'm doing most races in TCR in the leagues like Cremantic and 24-hour series, Ivra, and some like that.
All right. Well, it's been great to have you here in AMX 10, and we look forward to having you back for more racing in AMX Global League soon.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, it's a good time to be a Hungarian racer, Alex. some great moves. And I love this guy. He's going for like the most electrifying finish ever. And he's like, nah, I mean, I've done that before. It's just like, you know, thousands, hundreds, whatever. No big deal.
He's probably done it in a TCR car for all we know. But Norbert, you need to sign up for a, you know, I don't think we got any TCR racing left on the calendar for season 3, but there's plenty of opportunities for Norbert to electrify us with some close photo finishes. But yeah, we have to say a big thank you to both David and Norbert to really sort of show up. But we're going to have a look at some results now from race 29 AMX 10, and I think it's going to be our top 10 leaderboard. And Gustavo Ariel, $95 US, David Toth with 79, Victor Miranda, who can believe, judging by the look that we saw on his face when he won by next to nothing, he rounded out the top 3 with Kieran Harrison, Norbert Leitner, Pedro Mora, Caio Gaspar, Corentin Guinness, Guilherme Eliseu and Pedro Dean equal, well, the latter two equal on $23 US, so 9th equal, so that rounds out the top 10 prize winners. And you know what, I think that was the perfect way to round off what's been a great evening of racing on race 29 for AMX season 3. Would you agree, Reed?
Couldn't agree more, Alex. We really got everything. We got not one, but 2 photo finishes, thousands separating some of the best racers out there right now. And really, we are pulling racers from the far corners of the earth. And you're getting a chance to see not only, you know, one slice of racers who are only racing one single car, but every single day you come out here in AMX Global League Season 3, you're racing on a new track, in a new car, against new opponents, or even some of the same old opponents who maybe you have experience against. Maybe it's the first time racing against them ever, and you get a chance to see something you've never seen before in any tournament on planet Earth. And every single day of AMX Global League delivers action like this, so I can't wait for our final few races of the season, because we only have about 2 weeks left, Alex.
Yep, and the action continues tomorrow on day 30. Of course, you're going to be joining myself in what is actually going to be a bit of a surreal moment, a bit of a somber moment, but it's going to be my last actual broadcast with AMX Global. But we're going to have 3 of us in the booth. We're going to have myself, Marco and Evan, and you're going to join us on day 30. We've got 2 very different classes racing. Global Mazda MX-5s at Tsukuba, and then we'll have GT3s at Suzuka. So not Suzuka, it's going to be Manicourt. So we'll be in the Orient, and then we'll be in France. So don't forget to tune in, same time tomorrow. So big thank you, as always, to the team over in Korea at AMX Global. Big thank you to everyone watching. Big thank you to Ben Q, Next Level Racing, Upbit and Automatics for their continued support. We'll see you tomorrow for day 30. Until next time, if in doubt, flat out, goodbye.